Emma Rips Jank, the anti-establishment candidate, is the former Republican billionaire real estate tycoon. So many of these problems can be traced back to housing. Caruso will give real estate developers free reign. That can only exacerbate the conditions you describe. Yeah, 100%. That is, I mean, Emma put it perfectly. Rick Caruso literally has a fucking boulevard named after him at the Grove, okay? He is the real estate developer responsible for one of the most awful monstrosities in Los Angeles, also known as the Grove. I despise it. I have so much hate in my heart for the Grove. I go there every now and then because it has a movie theater in it, but like I do not like it, okay? Rick Caruso is a famous billionaire real estate developer and a lifelong Republican who is running for mayor in Los Angeles. He's running as a Democrat in Los Angeles, and he's been hosting a fuckload of meetings, okay? Closed-door meetings with, like, famous people, celebrities, rich people in general, as he tries to get them on his side, talking about fucking crime and homelessness, okay? Those are his two main focuses. Now, there is an issue with crime and homelessness in Los Angeles. Of course, the issue is caused by motherfuckers like Rick Caruso. It's wild to me that we're now at a stage where we're looking at a situation where it's like, oh yeah, I guess the only person that can solve crime and homelessness is the motherfucker causing it. Okay? We have homelessness because housing is insanely unaffordable. That is the main reason for homelessness. I've talked about this a million, gorillion fucking times. I don't know what else to say. There is so much evidence, okay? It is wild that people are still like, la, 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 can't hear you. Homelessness might be personal responsibility, something else. It's mental health. It's like, okay, we'll fix that then. No, won't do it. Crime is also a consequence of poverty, okay? And if your goal is to just continue pumping more funds into the multiple billion-dollar fund-receiving Los Angeles Police Department, as we have done for as long as we have been here, okay, as long as I've been in LA at least, if your goal to solve crime is not social programs, social safety nets, and to eviscerate poverty, but instead to fund more, police armored personnel carriers or whatever the fuck, so they can sit around in a crime scene and twiddle their goddamn thumbs and not really do anything and complain about the reason why they can't do their job is because they can't kill fucking 14-year-old Latino and black teenagers without scrutiny, then we're fucked. If you think the way to deal with homelessness is by over-policing homeless people, doing street sweeps, and then pushing them out to like other areas, okay, just pushing them away, just put all the homeless people in Skid Row, then you're fucked. That's not going to fix the problem. There will always be a new supply of homeless people because people are getting priced out of housing. Why are they getting priced out of housing? Because real estate developers do not want affordable housing in Los Angeles. They do not want to increase the inventory of affordable housing in Los Angeles. Why? Because that means that their inventory of housing keeps going up in price. Therefore, they make more money. Their company's valuations go up. Their overall capital goes up. Why would you? Why would you push back against that? And the insanity is assuming that like Rick Caruso, a guy like Rick Caruso is going to fucking actually what is this? Oh, dude, what the fuck? Come get your uncle, dog. This constant whining to try to get Hasan to correct me is really dumb. I don't know what his position on Bass is. No, we've talked about it. I don't like Karen Bass. I told him. I think Karen Bass sucks. I think his criticisms of Karen Bass are valid, okay? Jake's criticisms of Karen Bass are valid. She's a fake progressive, okay? Bernie is endorsing her, okay? Bernie's endorsing her. Why? Because there's no other alternative. But if he likes her, I'm happy to do an 8-hour debate on that. This is not an endorsement of Caruso. This is me vomiting about how awful establishment Democrats are. I mean, that's true, but then he did kind of endorse him, right? He said, yes. Are you voting for Caruso? Yes. Karen Bass's main message seems to be that she's an establishment Democrat, no interest, who thinks things in LA are generally fine. They're not, and will work the system better. The problem is the system. There's nothing but incompetence and corruption here. We need change. And there's a very real problem here. I think the Cenk is genuine, okay? It's not like Jeffrey Katzenberg told him to fucking vote for Rick Caruso or whatever. You guys are so stupid if you think that that's the reason. No, there is another underlying reason there, okay? Cenk is a relatively rich person who is old and sees a lot of crime and sees how fucking corrupt the Democratic Party has been in California and thinks he can shake things up with who? A fucking psychotic Republican billionaire? Worst idea ever. Okay? But the problem here isn't just Cenk. The problem here isn't like trying to figure out the puzzle pieces to see if there's like any other reason why Cenk is doing this. No, the problem is there's a lot of people in Los Angeles like this. I've been talking about this for years, okay? I've been talking about this for the past couple of years. If you recognize, every time I talk about crime coverage, crime in Los Angeles coverage, I always talk about all the fucking rich Democrat motherfuckers I know and how fascist they get when they talk about homeless people. Okay? That is a consequence of all the fucking Instagram accounts that have propped up. That is a consequence of all the local media coverage. That's a consequence of the local media working in unison with the LAPD to make it seem like the LAPD is being shackled by the Democrats and these progressive DAs, right? Which is bullshit. That's fucking bullshit. Los Angeles Police Department is not doing its best. But also, if I'm going to be fucking honest about the Los Angeles Police Department, it's not their job. It shouldn't be the job of the police to fucking literally reduce crime. We have such a fucked up, weird, brain-broken understanding where like every American thinks like, no, crime fighting and vigilante justice is how you fucking solve crime. No, you solve crime at the systemic issues, okay? You can't fucking solve crime by throwing more money into a pile of fucking hot dog skinned potato sack dickheads that have guns and no accountability whatsoever. The real world is not like fucking Batman, dude.
Well, this is where.
Anyway, we'll continue on this. All right. Most people, even hella capitalists, fully know about the whole supply-demand scam that is the diamond industry and agree it sucks. Literally, the same thing is happening with housing. So how come no one ever draws the similarities so that they maybe understand? Because there's a lot more diamonds are owned by like 8 fucking families, but housing is owned by every American. It's like the same concept as 401ks. 401ks have created a system where Americans care more about the fucking stock market than anything else because they're like, well, my 401k is down 30%. That's because of Brandon. 401ks have created a system where they believe that where the average American believes that they have a genuine vested fucking interest in the stock market, and it's in improving the stock market. When in fact your future should not be reliant on a 401k from the stock market, and the gains that are being made in the stock market are overwhelmingly going to the top 10% of wealth, and the losses are actually the only thing that socializes within the stock market. The gains are still held pretty fucking tightly. You're making like marginal improvements on your 401k. In the normal world, in the reality, and yet no, you should still fucking contribute to your 401k. There's no other alternative. I will never tell you not to fucking have a comfortable nest egg for yourself. You should not have to work your entire life. You shouldn't work until you're fucking 75 because Social Security is clearly not going to cover it. Please do not misunderstand me. I've always talked about this. I've talked about this for years and years and years, okay? But there used to be a system. In a perfect world, there would be pensions, even though that is also a faulty system in and of itself because that's still employment-based. And also on top of that, you would have Social Security coverage, okay? Unions and union-backed pensions and Social Security should be able to help you retire. But because that's not enough, because that's completely inadequate, now instead of pensions, we have 401ks. Everything is privatized. Do you mean we shouldn't have police at all? I'm in the most respectful way possible. I'm just trying to see what you mean here. Do you mean we shouldn't have police at all and strictly deal with crime at a systemic level? I'm slightly confused with your take, and I'd like an elaboration. Sure, certainly. I believe that policing as an institution, if we think about it as a theory, a group of individuals that get together, have that maintain the presence of law and order and like solve crimes like detectives are supposed to do, all that shit, and maybe even in certain instances, make sure that certain antisocial people that are demonstrating violent antisocial urges need to stay away from the rest of society. That is valid. That has to exist. Okay? It does not matter if it's an anarchist, democratically organized formation of community watchers or whatever the fuck you want to call it. That has to still exist as a concept. I have always maintained that position. Okay? No matter what happens, you need some people to be like, hey, that's wrong. You can't do that. Don't break the rules. However, the way that policing works in the United States of America and globally, I would say, the way that policing works in a capitalist system is to side with the capital, to place the interests of capital over the interests of citizens. It says protect and serve, right? On the side of the fucking cop cars. But the real protecting and serving that is happening in the way that policing works under capitalism is protecting and serving the interests of capital. I am not the type of person who says like, no, I think our communities would be fine without any cops whatsoever. I've never maintained that position. I don't think that. There is, of course, going to be a place for people to maintain the presence of law and order. However, in a lot of black and brown communities and a lot of poor communities, the presence of police do not actually create a presence of law and order. It creates lawlessness and disorder. Okay, so that's one. In immediately, like off the bat, cops are not doing what they are theoretically supposed to do. Okay, but ultimately, the way to solve issues of violent crime, a lot of violent crime, property theft, grand larceny, these sorts of crimes, okay, or organized like retail theft or whatever the fuck, that is not, you don't solve that by making cops get better guns, okay? By giving cops better guns, giving cops better weapons, or allowing them to murder people on sight. You solve that at the systemic level because the root cause of crime is socioeconomic conditions, okay? Motherfuckers with more to lose are not going to fucking steal or do dumb shit. That's just the truth. It's the simplest way I can put it. If you have a bright future ahead of you, you are most likely not going to fuck shit up. If you're going to school and you're learning shit, you have, after school programs, you have friends, you have an opportunity to go to college, you have an opportunity to help your family and your community, you're not going to fuck that shit up. You are significantly less likely to go and fucking steal. You are significantly less likely to go and get a gun and do some crazy shit. It's super simple. And for some weird reason, we just cannot comprehend it. We think like, nah, you don't understand, bro. Like, nah, people are just like inherently violent, or it's rap music, or it's rap culture, or whatever the fuck. It's like, no, dude. There are people in enclaves in this fucking country living in third world developing nation conditions. There are places in Alabama where black communities do not have working sewage systems, okay? That is a disaster. That is an injustice that has not been solved, and it is directly a consequence of our white supremacist foundations, okay? It's insane. It's completely unacceptable. And we don't do anything about it. White collar crime is as if not more common than street crime, though the societal damages are much higher. The system just doesn't care about it for the reason you state, protecting the interests of capital. Yeah, wage theft is the largest percentage of theft that happens, okay, across the board. Like, when you look at actual theft in this country, you would think like, oh man, cars are being stolen at crazy rates, Grand Theft Auto, right? Or property crime is happening at an alarming rate. No, motherfucker, it's wage theft. And it impacts pretty much every single fucking person. And it's being done by pretty much every single employer. But because we live in a capitalist system, that is just completely cast aside. No one even thinks about it. It's like multiple X's too, like multipliers. So Aaron Hernandez was a millionaire football player and killed people, right? He was well off and did bad shit. So I don't think it's 100% at all, but white supremacy, Lamont. Wait, what? Is that what you got out of what I just said to you? I understand that there's still motherfuckers who are going to do like antisocial, violent, psychopathic, criminal shit. I'm not saying you eliminate serial killers by eliminating poverty, dumbass. Also, you're literally talking about a dude whose brain was fucking the size of a goddamn walnut as a consequence of being slammed into other 400-pound men for his entire adult life. The fuck are you talking about, dude? Why do you think he did that? Because that was his only way of upward social mobility, right? That's crazy. I can't believe this guy with demonstrable mental illness created by fucking concussions, as like wealthier billionaires fucking extract the gigantic chunk of his labor value, sit there and you know, keep adding more billions into their fucking wealth. That dude broke his fucking brain so hard, he went and like did a shitload of psychotic, violent crimes that are directly linked back to his CTE. So the example that you used is even worse than that. You could have just used like fucking, you know, any number of serial killers if that's what your argument is. If like, oh, well, you can't solve serial killers. I agree, you can't. Anyway. There's a lot of links as well between which groups in society are disenfranchised versus the ethnicity of the current combat sports champions. Back in the day, a lot of boxing champs were Jewish and Irish because they were so economically fucked. Yeah, we use the poorest people in our society as like gladiators for our own personal entertainment. I mean, that much is pretty obvious, right? Mr. Hasanabi, can you explain why yous didn't have pensions in America? That's crazy, dude. My man said, yous didn't have pensions in America. Capitalism. Anyway. That's the same reason why at the top of the hour, there's a 60-second ad break. That's the same reason why in order to avoid those ads, all you need to do is subscribe for $5 or for free. Okay. Twitch Prime is free as long as you have an Amazon Prime account connected to your Twitch account where you get one free Prime subscription a month. That's the reason why you can also get lucky and get gifted a sub by those who are more fortunate than you in order to also avoid the ads. Okay. Here's the 1 minute ad break now. One Slice Gal, thank you for the 5 and gifted subs. So yeah, Jenk is talking about Karen Bass. This like made a lot of this had a lot of momentum because he is a very famous progressive liberal leftist, whatever you want to call it. Not really a leftist all that much, but a social democrat. Talking about, how much he despises Karen Bass. Yeeter Zeter, thank you for the 5, get the subs. And One Slice Gal and Sad Econ Major, thank you for the 5, get the subs. I think that crime and homelessness is a gigantic issue in Los Angeles. Okay? It is. It is a huge, huge issue. And I don't just mean like it's a huge issue in the sense that like it sucks that there are homeless people living on the streets. Obviously, first and foremost, that is the gigantic problem. Okay? But it's also an issue for everyone else. It's a matter of public safety, both for the homeless people that are that do not have shelter, but it's a matter of public safety for a lot of the people that live around some of the homeless people that will then go and do crazy shit. I mean, the reality is like if you're devoid of shelter, if you haven't had shelter for years and years and years and years, yeah, your brain's gonna fucking break. Where'd you buy your headband from? It's a t-shirt whose I cut the sleeves off. It's a t-shirt sleeve. Okay? And it's happening everywhere. It's happening all around the motherfucking country. Okay? People are desperate, they're hungry, they're starving. Their mental health is like diminishing at an alarming rate. They're living in the fucking streets, they're eating trash, they're taking shits on the side of the fucking road. Yeah. That's not good. That's terrible. And it's happening in the wealthiest nation on the fucking planet. And there are places that have been able to eviscerate the homelessness problem, okay? And I don't mean in the fascist sense. I mean tackle the root cause. Okay? You need to have a housing first approach to homelessness. You need to put homeless people in homes. That's it. But that is unimaginable. Okay? That is fucking unimaginable. When I bring this up, people lose their minds. They're like, what? But they don't even realize, like, bro, that could be you one day. Okay? People think that that is just unimaginable and unjustifiable because people can imagine the end of the world before they can imagine the end of capitalism. Okay? Housing is a fundamental plank of wealth building in this country. We don't see homes as shelter, a necessary resource for survival. We see it as a leg up, a way to generate wealth for future generations. And that has created demonstrable problems. That is the reason why everyone with a home thinks, oh man, it sure is great that housing prices are constantly going up in my neighborhood, which is adding on to the wealth that I have because one day I might sell my house. But even if I don't sell my house, I can simply, take loans against it. It's collateral. I can take loans against it, and the more its price goes up in 10 years, the more loans I can take out against it, right? And for that reason, you just don't want more housing. You don't want more you don't want more availabilities. You don't want more inventory. Why do you think it hasn't at least been patched up for optics? Do you think it's a long-term strategy? Because under capitalism, it's about what you can get away with. Okay? Those who own capital will do everything in their power to continue squeezing as much as they possibly can. Your boss is always going to pay you as little as he possibly can and get the most work out of you for the least amount of pay. This contradiction is at the heart. This class contradiction is at the heart of capitalism. Your boss, your manager, operating at the behest of your boss, wants you to work as many hours as you physically, humanly can, while giving you the least amount of money he can get away with. You want to work the least amount of hours that you possibly could get away with, and you want the most amount of pay you can get out of that. It's just normal, right? But of course, those with power, those with money, those with the consolidation of wealth and power at the top get to make those choices for you. They win that every time. And the same goes for the housing market. The same goes for every area where capital exists. Those who own houses want to make sure that their housing prices go up because that is their wealth. If there was more inventory of housing readily available, then all of a sudden, because there's not enough scarcity of this resource, your house as a commodity would lose its value. And if it started losing its value, you would lose money. It's like money out of your pocket. That's crazy. I was worth, my house is worth $3 million, but then next year it's all of a sudden it's only worth $2 million. No, I just lost $1 million. Like, it's theoretical money, but it's still money in the way that people understand it. It's not liquid. But do you get what I'm saying? It's insane. The housing market cools and builders are not building homes anymore, even though they could still make a decent profit. People are freaking the fuck out because their homes are worth 5% less than they were last year. Yeah. Meanwhile, their houses are already inflated 30% from like 5 years ago. So in that process, they work to make sure that the inventory is dry, and they make sure that they don't want any new fucking developments, because construction also is like disruptive. You know what I mean? If they're building if you live in a single family house, okay, and then all of a sudden they're building an apartment next door to you, what the fuck? There's construction, there's loud noise, it's disruptive. You don't want that. That's where you get the NIMBYs, the not in my backyarders, okay? That is one other reason why they don't want housing to be built. Okay? And lastly, when that happens, when these guys get together, real estate developers and the like, when they say, hey, we got to maintain the fucking, profit margins for our homes and all this shit, and they dictate policy, okay? They stop new housing from being built, or whenever new housing is being built, it's always like luxury condominiums and shit with like maybe 10% of that going to like affordable housing, but that's on a lottery system, and that's not actually filling anything. You know what I mean? That's not filling the need in a meaningful capacity. Affordable housing, neighborhoods that have affordable housing and old units are being fucking eviscerated and gentrified at a rapid, alarming clip. All of that is pushing people that live in those neighborhoods away, further and further away from the Los Angeles metropolitan area. But those people still have to work in the Los Angeles metropolitan area, but now their commute is longer. They're spending more money on gas. Their lives are becoming worse overall. It's becoming unmanageable for them. until they ultimately fuck up for one reason or the other and maybe lose their job. And now you're jobless. Now you maybe can't even pay the fucking rent in the previously affordable neighborhood that you were living in that is less and less affordable now. Year over year, your landlord is increasing your rent, and now you're fucked. You can't pay for it. Boom. All of a sudden, you have housing insecurity. All of a sudden, you're either couch surfing or you're living out of your car, okay? That's what I call tier 3 homelessness, okay? You're in the, if the homelessness is like tiered and structured for people to understand, if you want to contextualize it a little bit better, I call that tier 3 homelessness. It's the first stage of homelessness. There's probably a lot of people in here there's probably some people in here that are living in that stage right now. You're housing insecure. You don't know, you don't have like sustainable, like 100% housing that you always know that you can live in. Okay. Once you get to living out of your car, things start going downhill. Okay. Things start going downhill even further. It makes it harder for you to keep your job. Okay. All of a sudden, you have to find a place where you can take showers, find a place where you can clean your clothes. These things that we take for granted in the form of real estate, in the form of like a shelter over our heads that we all take for granted, is actually something that can go away like that. Okay? These people are invisible homeless people. Okay? You don't understand that they're homeless. There might be people in your lives that are living like this right now, and that starts taking a toll on their mental health. It makes it harder for them to keep a job. Then you move on to tier 2 homelessness, where it is basically the transitional state from like being a transitional state between like going from a car to an actual house to living on the streets. You lose your car, you can't make car payments. You lose your car because, it gets impounded because it's criminalized. You can't live in your fucking car. Then all of a sudden you live on the streets. That is what you see. That's the visible homeless people that you see. That's tier 3 homelessness. Now, in tier 2, when you start living on the fucking streets, you have no shelter whatsoever. Now you're literally combating the elements day in, day out. Things have gotten much harder for you. Okay? You start self-medicating because it is deeply traumatic as an existence, as an experience. So now what are you doing? You're taking drugs, okay? You start shooting up to deal with the pain every single fucking day. Now you start to develop an addiction. Your brain is fucking rotting every fucking day as a consequence of sleep deprivation, as a consequence of the trauma and the fear that you have, that you don't have shelter over your own fucking head. This is literally like animals have shelter. You know what I mean? They live in caves. Like now, as a human being, you are devoid of that. It is becoming harder and harder to maintain a job or to even find a job in general, okay? And you ultimately reach the last stage of homelessness, where it's the most visible homeless people that we see. People in tattered clothes, running around, very clearly haven't taken a shower in fucking years. People who have lost their minds pretty much. And the further you move down those tiers, the harder it gets for recovery. Okay? Rehabilitation and recovery becomes infinitely harder at that stage. So when I talk about housing or housing first or more affordable housing inventory, I'm talking about a multi-pronged approach that tries to eliminate the tier 3 homeless people that are invisibly homeless, okay? Because so many of those people get to that point before they reach a point of no return. They get to that point as a consequence of, and the overwhelming majority of them get to that point as a consequence of not drugs, not mental health issues, although that could be a factor in some of these instances. But they get to that point because they are priced out of their housing. That's it. And the only way to tackle that is by increasing the availability of affordable housing, okay? And sure, that will probably ruin property values. But God damn it, It's significantly, in the short term, it might ruin property values, certainly. But that is significantly better than having people living on the fucking streets eating trash as you have to look aside, as you have to look the other direction. And that's the most empathetic thing you can do. Okay? Nobody wants a dude who fucking jerks off in the middle of the goddamn street. Like, coming up to his fucking house and knocking on his door while cranking their fucking hog, okay? I don't want that. My mom lives with me. I don't want that shit. Let's be fucking real. Like, I'm not a psycho. I'm not going to sit here and act like, no, I love that. That's perfectly fine. Okay? Shut the fuck up, chatters. That seems specific? Yeah, it is specific. It's specific because it's fucking real. It's real. It happened. It's my life, okay? It's a real thing. The city of Vienna put out a video I watched on my stream. It shows exactly how to run a housing market. Yeah, we've already watched this. Oh, maybe not the city of Vienna's own version of this, but we've watched so many affordable housing videos about Red Vienna here. And in the long term, yes, having comprehensive supporting housing services in your area reduces crime and increases property values. That is the other part of it. But capitalism breaks people's brains into thinking only in short-term profits. So because of that reason, they don't even they can't think about it in any other way. They're like short-term profit only, short-term profit only. Like, no, you'll get better fucking returns. You'll have a better society overall, a healthier society overall, and also better returns on your fucking investment down the line. As long as you shut the fuck up and wait 5 to 10 years instead of try to flip your goddamn house in 2, okay? That's the problem. But motherfuckers are thinking in 1 year terms, okay? They're thinking in quarterly dividends. They're not thinking about a better future. That is capitalist thinking. Profits now. Holy shit! If my housing, if there's more availability in housing, if there are more social safety nets as a consequence of higher taxes, that's more money out of my fucking pocket right now. Not thinking about what that means. Cleaner streets, a safer environment overall for everyone, including the homeless people and yourself and your children. I was furloughed from my job for 2 months and I was just brought back. The amount of debt I accumulated in just that amount of time and lack of support from the state of Texas, I would definitely be on the streets with almost impossible chance to get back on my feet had my girlfriend not let me move in with her. Exactly. Shut the fuck up and get to the damn news, you fucking dunce. Don't think that you understand the problems of the typical Norman. Don't speak about this like you know what it's truly like to struggle for shelter, who don't know where the next bite of food is coming from while having a fucking drug addiction. Stop. Your approach to this shit is so sideways, dog. I'm so sorry that your individual experience has not been entirely pleasant. Please tell me more about the homeless guy jagging in front of your multi-million-dollar mansion. Okay, bro, I'm going to be honest with you. I don't know if you're homeless or not right now, but like, I'm going to keep it $150. You're mentally ill, okay? So I hope you get the fucking treatment that you deserve. Like, if you just listen to me rant about how to fucking combat homelessness and you literally misunderstood every point that I just made, then your mental illness is unmanageable, okay? You are just literally going through a schizophrenic attack, I think. And it is manifesting by you watching me. Earlier today, it's pretty appalling how you rarely take a break from the news, though. It's got to be unhealthy at a certain point, right? Yeah, it's probably unhealthy for you, actually, Carlos, to watch me like this. Jesus fucking Christ. Anyway. As the downtown loop in Kansas City turns 50 this year, let's not forget how it turned a vibrant neighborhood into a parking lot. Yellow shows surface parking lots while green are garages. Holy fuck. Bro, I don't think people understand, like, the shit that I'm talking about. Most people at my fucking level of finances are talking about in the exact opposite direction. And those people have a lot of fucking power united, okay? They're constantly united. For me, I'm not saying that, like, it's the worst thing on the fucking planet that a homeless person is jerking off outside of my house. I'm talking about how it is first and foremost a matter of safety for that person, okay? That person does not have shelter. I described the steps that that person probably went through to get to this fucking horrifying condition, okay? And now I'm talking about the other side of it and how that impacts everyday fucking citizens as well, not just myself. It is so psychotic to just misunderstand every point that I just made and think I'm making the opposite fucking point because of so much anger in your heart, so much resentment that you feel towards me. What the fuck's wrong with you? Did you call the cops? Did you help the homeless guy get the help he needed? No, man, I didn't fucking call the cops. What are you, crazy? No, of course not. No, he just went away. He just knocks on my door and then he fucks off. But, like, I'm not a fucking social services person. Are you fucking stupid? This is what I think is, like, insane. Like, the expectation is, like, every fucking person, no matter what they're doing, no matter what they're going through, no matter what their job is, needs to fucking drop everything and become a social services worker for that fucking moment when someone is doing a sexual assault, dude. What the fuck kind of psychotic expectation is that? We have a society for a fucking reason. You brain dead Connecticut McMansion living cocksucking motherfuckers do not understand this. It's like, bro, like, I don't get it. The trash, just pick it up yourself and take it to the dump yourself. No, dog. That's why we pay taxes. That's why there's a society. That's why people that work in sanitation should be paid adequately so they do this profoundly important fucking job. I hate how hyper-individualistic you dumb, non-capital owning, Honda Civic beater driving, poor, broke fucks are talking like you own a fucking factory. You own no capital. You are fucking broke, and yet you talk like you're the monopoly man. You're so hyper-individualistic, and you don't recognize that that attitude is how you get fucked. That attitude is why we have societal collapse. The reason why all of our fucking funds are broken, the reason why all of our social safety nets are broken is because of dumb motherfuckers like you riding or dying for the interest of the fucking multi-billionaires. Holy shit. You've been duped. You've been duped into thinking that we need to exist as like these hyper-individualized, atomized fucking people. It's so dumb. That's the reason why our roads are broken, idiot. Because you as an individual can't fill the fucking potholes. Someone needs to pay for it. We all need to get together and pay for it. We have to pay for the labor. We have to pay for the fucking commodities that go into it. And a government's sole purpose is to make that collective action happen. But you're so fucking stupid. And you don't see that. And it makes me so angry. Because you're also not rich. You're broke. And you're not going to be rich. And you shouldn't have to either. You should not have to be wealthy to live a life of dignity. That's the point. And it makes me so mad. Oh. I didn't see it that way. I do understand when the situation arises, it can be challenging when this appears at your doorstep, and the funding we pay in taxes divert of interest capitalist volleyball courts. You are relatable, and it's easy for those who criticize you to think they could be you and do what you do, but they don't. I asked 5 years ago about a human centipede emoji, and will pretty face go to hell? Did the other day? What? Just because you think you could do something doesn't mean you could do something. You should do something. What? Okay, I don't know what the fuck that was. Look, you say homelessness is my biggest blind spot as a leftist, I think. I've never called the cops or anything, and I'm mostly as kind as I can be, but I very rarely help. I definitely am pro everything you've been talking about and approve of the things on a macro level. I just don't ever take individual steps in my own life to help folks. Dude, you shouldn't have to. Homeless people should not exist. It's a societal fucking breakdown happening in front of our eyes. That's the point. There is an argument for socialism from a selfish perspective as well, okay? That's the point. Not everyone is capable of doing it. Not everyone is willing to do it. Not everyone is even good at being a social worker. That is the reason why we have social workers. They're profoundly empathetic individuals who do an incredible job. That's why we have division of labor, okay? It blows my mind that everyone is literally like, nah, dude. Like, it almost goes back to that same like fat shaming entitled attitude that we were talking about yesterday, where people present themselves a certain way that they are not, okay? People on the internet will be like, what? You don't open your home to every homeless person on the street? That's fucking fuck you. It's like, bitch, you never did that. And you shouldn't have to. That's the point. We have a structure that is faulty, that happens in the first place, that there is a need for that in the first place. A need for philanthropy, a need for charity indicates systemic failure. That shouldn't stop you from working with philanthropies, as I do all the fucking time, but I am very aware that need for it is precisely the fault of systemic failure. If capitalism fucking worked, you wouldn't have charity. You wouldn't have need for charity. Anarchists are weirdly individualist. I know. They're American. Most Americans are just like impossible to fucking deal with. American individualism is just such a fucking cancerous attitude that they have. They don't want to think about it. They don't want to think about it from the perspective of a collectivist attitude. They don't want to think about like collective action. They don't want to think about systemic solutions. It's impossible for them to envision a future where any of that happens. And that's how we arrive at this at the reinforcement of these same fucking structural problems over and over again. People aren't homeless due to people not buying them sandwiches or taking them in. They're homeless because the way our society works is broken. Individual action isn't adequate because the problem is systemic. Yes. Anarchists are extremely collective. What the fuck are you talking about? No, he's talking about like brain broken American anarchists who are literally like, dude, what the fuck are you doing? You should drop everything and like dedicate your life to becoming a social worker instead.
Gentleman named Q lives. I spoke to him. He's quite happy to be here, but says he's planning to move soon. So this is the situation in 2022 in Los Angeles. You can basically build your own small wooden house right on Hollywood Boulevard, live in it, continue to refuse offers of city services, and most people around here are okay with it. Others say it has to go. It's a solid...
He literally mentioned most people are okay with it. Yeah, this is infinitely better than fucking living inside of a tent. Okay, this dude's hurting nobody. It's kind of nice. Good for him. You know what I mean? He's like combating the elements. Great. Yeah, like what? You want trash everywhere? You shouldn't even have to live like this. Like, he shouldn't have to live like this. You should live in a fucking home, okay? You should be able to live in in actual shelter, permanent shelter. Would you be okay with that outside of your house? Hey, dumb motherfucker, I live in West Hollywood, okay? It's infinitely worse outside my house. This is like fucking one zip code down from me. You fucking idiot. Shut the fuck up. You live in Arkansas. You don't know anything about homeless people. Dumb motherfuckers who are like 14, living literally in Arkansas, talking shit. Oh my God, I'm going to lose my fucking mind. I've had 4 Molotov cocktail tent burnings happen outside of my fucking house. 4! Shut the fuck up! People are so stupid. You think you think this is normal? It's not. Obviously not in the same week. Well, 2 of them were in the same week, but people are terrified of cities. People are literally terrified of cities. They'll never live in a city. And then they try to tell a fucking city boy like me what it's like. Bro, they're cutting this news coverage like basically in my fucking backyard. What are you telling me? What are you talking about? Remember when the shit was happening, when the like organized retail theft was happening, and I was telling you, or the follow home robberies were happening, and I was like, guys, these are greatly overblown, and motherfuckers would be like, you don't understand, bro. I was like, what are you talking about? They're talking about my neighborhood. Like, why are you living in a Connecticut McMansion in the fucking suburbs telling me about what is going on apparently in my fucking backyard? You think you know better than me? Yeah, these are the motherfuckers in my chat. Conservative guy scared of cities. Saw that thing on the news. Too many of those people there. Can't park Ford Super Duty. Not scared, bro. Didn't that happen when that one dude stole your merch and then returned it? Yeah, it did happen. 100% what you're saying and 100% real. What is this? Oh, yeah, it is. The funniest part about it is like when I say stuff like we need to deal with homelessness by having a housing first policy that will, in the short term, potentially lower the housing values in a particular marketplace, right? But ultimately will yield such positive, profoundly positive impacts, and people will be like, "Oh, nah, dog, you just don't want tent cities outside your house." Like that's a fucking own, dude. Yeah, I don't. I literally don't. Do you? No. Why is that like somehow indecent? I don't want that because I don't want anyone to live in that situation. I don't want that because I also don't want to live in that situation either. Like, I don't get it. It's like you make it seem like it's indecent because I'm self-interested. Like, yeah, I am. I am self-interested. I don't want people, first and foremost, I don't want people living in fucking tents and eating trash, okay? I don't. But two, I also don't want people living in a tent and jerking off outside my fucking house. My mom is living with me. Yeah, I don't want that. I'm scared. I don't want that. Is that psychotic? No, I don't think so. It's just being a normal human being. That doesn't stop me from living where I want to live, obviously. I'm not one of these fucking freaks who's like, I'm moving into the suburbs, brother. Shit's going crazy out here. No, like, I understand. I grew up in cities my entire life, okay? When you live in a fucking big city, there's going to be crime. When you live in a big city, there's going to be homeless people. I wish that there wasn't, okay? And I know how to solve it, but we're never going to solve it. But that's not going to deter me from fucking living in a city. Because I'm not a pussy, okay? Motherfuckers be like, nah, dude, I'm such a good leftist. I want, mentally ill people jerking off outside my house, actually. That's the best way to showcase how leftist you are, dog. By saying shit that you don't fucking believe in. That's how you become the best leftist. You say it on Twitter, okay? And then you get all the leftist brownie points. You're like, I'm the most leftist, dog. Like, I would let the homeless person jerk off in my mouth, actually. What the fuck? You should be catching those cummies with your mouth. That's what I would do. I'm the best, dude. I'm the fucking best, dog. It's like, meanwhile, you literally live in like some fucking wealthy white suburb in Idaho, and you're just saying that. You're just saying that on Twitter. And the reason why you live there is because your mom and dad are terrified of the fucking city life, okay? And you've never experienced it yourself, so you're just fucking tweeting about it. I'm not going to sit here and lie to you and act like I don't have a personal, a personal vested interest in this. Everyone does, though. Okay, it's a win-win for everyone. I'm using the individualist argument for those who have no empathy in their fucking hearts.
Well-built wooden structure, propped up by metal carts and car batteries. A power cord unplugged trails down the sidewalk, which is piled high with assorted power tools and electronics. Reaction? Mixed. What do you think of that?
I don't like it. It's not good. It's bad.
It is a little out there, but he is safe and he doesn't have to worry about someone burning his tent down.
I don't even know like why or how it's crazy.
That shit happens so frequently, by the way. More frequently than the top of the hour ad break, which comes at the top of the hour. I forgot to run it at the top of the hour last time, so I'm running it right now. At the top of the hour, there's a 6-second ad break. If you no longer want to see those ads, all you need to do is subscribe, which you can do for $5 or for free. Okay? You can also get gifted a sub. Here's the 1 minute ad break now. Look. The reason why he brought up fucking no one can burn his tent down is because that shit happens so frequently, by the way. That's another thing. It's like, there are tent fires more than once an hour, lol? No, dude, not more than once an hour. But those certainly happen a lot. That's the other side of being homeless. On top of not having fucking shelter, there's sexual assaults that occur, okay? Especially inside of shelters where it happens more frequently than outside of shelters almost, okay? There's also like, you know, theft happening within the homeless community, okay? You get your shit stolen. You get your tents burned. I used to be a manager of the Walmart in Southgate, and the homeless camp behind our store caught on fire once a week at least. Yeah. Do you think there's inter-community bullying and bullies? Yeah, bro. Also, there's, you know, drug deals too. Like there's a little bit of that. There's cooking. But like I have seen, like I'm telling you, there's also, you know, violence that breaks out regularly.
Crazy. It's crazy. It's crazy, to say the least.
Is this okay?
It's not okay that it's gotten to this point. The fact that he's here, I don't see an issue with it.
Anybody home? After I called the city and the LAPD to see what, if anything, is being done to help or clean up.
What the fuck? Dude, what is wrong with this motherfucker, bro? What are you doing? The dude's trying to live, man. What the fuck?
Police did come and talk to the man. They've been here before. They described him as young, healthy. They offered to connect him with services. He declined. They left. Summing up the municipal code, the only enforcement is if a person is blocking the sidewalk on an active driveway or business. City Councilman Mitch O'Farrell says he hopes this can be resolved with what are called Care Plus teams, which pair comprehensive outreach with sanitation and cleaning services needed to make the public right-of-way safe and accessible.
I think it's pretty funny that we care about walkability on our sidewalks when it comes to homeless people. But like there are so many areas where there are just no sidewalks or sidewalks are in a state of fucking disrepair. Pretty cool that like the only time they care about, you know, walkability is when they can fucking kill homeless people. Awesome. Love that. Ironic because if they did genuinely care about walkability and had adequate public transit, that would lead to less homeless people because ease of access to a fucking job without having a fucking car allows you to, you know, be able to live further away in a cheaper house and still maintain your fucking profession, your job. Less likely to fucking lose your house all of a sudden. But, you know, it's all built. It's all interwoven. The entire system is built on this fucking weird contradiction. So when those contradictions become more apparent, you see more of these issues prop up left and right. If every homeless person had the desire to get a job, yeah, this kind of rhetoric is so fucking funny, man. Yeah, dude, it's because homeless people are like, man, I hate jobs. That's why I want to be homeless. Yeah, dude. Yeah, totally. Also, you're watching Twitch at 1:19 p.m. You either are in a comfortable job where you can do a work from home bullshit fucking thing because you have upper middle class family members that literally allowed you to be able to go to a fucking state college or something like that. And then you got a fucking nepotism hire job somewhere and you can do a work from home thing where you're literally fake fucking typing on your computer as you're watching me, or you're jobless. Okay. And your parents are keeping you afloat, and you're simultaneously talking shit on people saying, oh, man, these guys are homeless because they don't want to work. Am I right? Like, that's not how this works. Okay? We are all profoundly privileged in comparison to fucking homeless people that are suffering in the streets. God damn it, dude. There's nothing wrong with the things I just mentioned, by the way. But there is something wrong with fucking acting like homeless people are you know, would be in a better situation overall. They just can't fucking bootstrap themselves out of that.
Meantime, across the street, where Jamila Ali and Rance Shaw run City Vibes Coffee, compassion is still on the menu.
He hasn't like bothered anyone, and honestly, I'm glad that it's right there because I honestly feel safer with him there. For some reason, I don't know why. It's just it feels like he knows what he's doing, and he's not here to like hurt anyone.
Unfortunately, they have to make us a little bit uncomfortable for them to be comfortable, and I think that's just like the problem in LA. No one realizes.
That's the funniest part, is that like that is the most empathetic liberal take, is just like, yeah, we just got to be a little uncomfortable. It's like, no, man, no, you don't have to. Actually, there is a better future. And these people are very empathetic, and you know, these are not bad people. Okay, these are good people. These are kind people. The reality, of course, is that like they're still kind within the boundaries of capitalism, within the confines of capitalism for most people. So they just think like, oh, we should be like cohabitating this space together. It's like, no, that's not. No, they should not have to live outdoors. I promise. That's a thing. They should not have to live outdoors. They should live indoors in a house, in permanent shelter, not a homeless shelter, permanent residence, permanent shelter.
Realizes how much of a burden it can do to like our mentality and just the way we carry ourselves.
Q tells me he's from Kansas City. He's been in LA for about 3 years, been here for a few months. He says he's self-employed. He fixes bikes.
Who's paying for the permanent shelter? Not you, sons of Samedi. Me, motherfucker, me. Rich people like me. Okay, how about that? Is that better for you? Not you. Says you with a $2 billion house? Exactly. Troll face. Like, that's the thing. Like, I already pay for it. I just want to see some returns, man. If we're going to think about the government as a business, I want to see a return on my investment. Why the fuck is all the dollars that I'm funding the California state going directly into the pockets of the fucking police department? Let's fix some goddamn potholes and let's put some fucking permanent shelter out there. What the fuck is that about? I have a right to be mad. I have a right to be angry.
He wants to be a mechanical engineer and that he is an Army veteran. Saturday, Alex and Marla, the city tells me they're planning to clean this all up as part of this Care Plus program.
Yeah, they're called sweeps. That's what it is. They make it seem like they're doing something that's good when they're not doing something that's good. They're just fucking destroying someone's like, shelter, pretty much.
Had great success here in Hollywood. If you've been to the underpass and Gower on the 101 freeway, all cleaned up. So
just like
it's going to be interesting to see what, if anything, happens to this man. As I mentioned, he's perfectly happy being here, and most of the people around here are happy to have him. Live in Hollywood, I'm Phil Schumann.
You know, that, first up, how is he not blocking the sidewalk? And secondly, you know, is it...
Come on, Alex.
You know, it looks like a structure there. And these are, the business owners there have to spend a lot of money in taxes, have to go through permitting processes.
Come on, Alex. Like, these are like otherwise kind individuals, but like the moment you fucking see homeless people, they just like lose their minds, bro. I swear to God. Like, that's not good, okay? That is better than like tent cities, okay? But that's still not good. That is inadequate shelter, okay? Yes, I do know Alex. I do know him. I've been on a show multiple times. I've debated literally this issue in Los Angeles against Larry Elder, who ran for fucking governor. But liberals in California have lost their fucking goddamn minds. I've been telling you guys this for a year plus. I can't change people's attitudes, especially rich people's attitudes, okay? I try, but I can't. They just don't want to hear it. They think I'm seeing the problem right in front of my eyes and something needs to fucking change. And that is, I fear that is a descent into way more reactionary policy provisions. Way more reactionary policy proposals.
Everybody around there that lives there have to pay property taxes.
Yeah.
Does he pay any property taxes?
Q, We're on live on Fox 11. Alex, nobody's saying this is a great idea. Hey, we're on live. Thanks for talking with us. What are you doing here, and how did this come to be?
Well, I was originally in a tent, and when the sanitation comes, once every 2 weeks, they have you take the tent down and clear all your stuff out.
Yeah.
And so what I had an idea just to build something on wheels so that way I wouldn't have to
Show us what you got here.
Well,
I mean, where did you get all the material and everything?
Well, I got most of the material from like a construction sites that threw away old wood, and then some friends of mine that had some wood left.
No, they mentioned it. He's an Army veteran, by the way. Yeah, this is a veteran. By the way, remember, we love our vets. We love our vets, dude. Oh, my God, we love our vets. We want to suck and fuck our vets. Except when they're homeless, then they're scum, right? Remember, they only think about homeless veterans when it comes to, like, shitting on undocumented immigrants that are coming into the country. Remember that, okay? Are they paying property taxes? No, they're not paying. There's not a property. Of course there's no property tax. Shut the fuck up. Dude, this man's net worth is like $3. And you're like, is he paying property taxes? For what, dude? As a first-generation Mexican American who was homeless as a kid for a little bit, living in car homeless, as a child, thought of it as camping. My older brothers and parents must have been so scared at night. In the 90s, when the commercial real estate market in Texas took a shit, my father lost his job. He worked construction. Like, how was he or my family lazy? Fucking weird chatters who can't muster any empathy. Exactly. These people are not lazy. Look at this guy. This dude is a fucking industrious person, okay? Look at him. He has made so much with so little. Given the adequate opportunities, given actual housing, that dude is crushing it, okay? That dude is turning his life around. But society does not offer that to him. Look at the way that they behave. Look at the way that they're fucking even, this is a telegenic homeless person, right? He's a vet. He very clearly can work with his hands. He can work construction. Motherfuckers, though, look at him and go, oh, he's lazy. He built a fucking rust base, bro, on a corner on Hollywood Boulevard. Very clearly, if circumstances weren't dire, he'd be fine. And even in the most telegenic circumstance, when you see a homeless person, your empathy part of your brain just shuts off immediately. And you're like, well, why isn't he paying property taxes? Oh, what's going on?
Over, and then there was a shop across the street that had some old flooring.
You have electricity in there?
Yeah, I've got a generator over here.
So you've been offered housing, temporary housing from the city and other agencies?
Right.
But you prefer this, or?
Well, I kind of do prefer this because it kind of gives me empowerment. A lot of the housing, a lot of the housing programs they offer, they put you in like what seems like a concentration camp. And so
this is more.
He's right, by the way, straight up. Homeless shelters are so inadequate, dude. One, as a lack of funding, adequate funding, but like, he's right. Homeless shelters are unsafe. One, you can't take your shit with you. If you have an animal, you can't take your animal with you. You can't take your shit with you. They're constantly fucking putting you under drug tests. If you're like, you can't go cold turkey if you're addicted to something. I'm not saying he is, but that's one of the many reasons why people don't want to do it. And lastly, and perhaps the most important reason, it's unsafe. It is deeply unsafe. There's a lot of sexual assault that occurs. There's a lot of property theft that occurs inside of these shelters. There's a lot of fighting that happens. Okay? What they need is not shelters. What they need is not a concentration camp style temporary shelter. What they need is permanent shelter, a home. That is at the heart of. Not true about animals and drug tests. Wait, what? You're wrong about that, I think. Or maybe you're thinking about your own personal homeless shelter that you worked at or something. Shelters literally operate like a lot of shelters, especially in big cities, operate like institutionalized criminal centers, basically. Every homeless person I've talked to and every social worker I've talked to that works with homeless people talk about precisely animals and drug tests as like some of the primary reasons as to why shelters are not sustainable, on top of sexual assault and other forms of violence that occurs regularly. I was in a youth homeless shelter. My shit always got stolen. Fights 24/7. He's right, Chatter. Shut the fuck up. So basically, get off your ass and stop being a homeless loser. Yeah, dude. Instead, get on your ass and watch fucking Twitch.tv and talk shit like a fucking idiot. So you think if shelters had no restrictions to them, all the issues you said about the dangers of it would disappear? Fuck no, dude. Because shelters are temporary. These people don't need temporary housing. They need permanent housing. Holy shit.
They out here saying, okay, get a job, go get a job. Okay, how? Explain to me how. I go into a shelter, 90% of all the shelters, you have a person off in the corner smoking a brookie and the staff member not doing nothing about it. You have other people while you're sleeping stealing your stuff. You have staff members sexually assaulting females inside the facilities. So most of them rather sleep outside in the danger and the cold than actually be in there, because when the reason why they left them or out on the street in the first place is because their mom or their dad or their brother or their uncle or someone in their family was either mentally, emotionally, physically, or sexually abusing them. So they're out here just because they'd rather not be in that environment. That's why you got so young kids out here. They out here.
Temporary housing would have to last for years for each of these people, let alone be decent to live in for those living there to have a chance to get their own home. Yeah. Awful Poet says, kick you out 5 a.m. to 5 p.m., required religious indoctrination, can't stay with your spouse, no pets, only a bag for personal property, all stolen, extensive violence, 1 meal at night. This only describes short-term housing. Long-term housing, no record of any kind, limited family availability, enormous waiting lists, source, years homeless with and without a spouse. Yeah. And for the record, like I said, most jobs require that you have a home address. Exactly. Most jobs require you to shower and be able to clean your fucking clothes. Can't do that shit. That's why I get so goddamn triggered whenever I fucking see those YouTube videos of people being like, oh, I was homeless. And here's how I capitalismed my way out of having 1 penny to my name. This shit's not a joke. It's not. It's just, it's so fucked up. Anyway, I mean, we know how people feel about homeless people. Reactionary people don't even fucking hide their disdain. And even liberals are incredibly fucking reactionary towards homeless people because, they see what I've talked about already. Like the most visible homeless people are often going to be the ones that need help the most desperate. A lot of mental illness, a lot of drug addiction, and that's what you see. So you fucking think like you have this reactionary attitude towards it. You think like everyone is there. And then when your starting point is like this hyper capitalistic, super individualist attitude, you think like these people are there because of their own failures, because we think poverty is a moral failure. And a lot of us, especially NEETs, especially people that are fortunate enough to be in this Twitch community or in any community on Twitch for the most part, have never had to experience that personally. I have never had to experience that personally. Let's be real. I've never been homeless. I've had the fear of losing housing for sure. And it's a terrifying prospect. I had to live in a fucking kitchen of a frat house. But I've never been homeless. I've always been able to figure shit out. But until you live in that situation, like, you're never going to understand it, okay? But that was still permanent shelter, chat. That was a permanent shelter still, okay?
My truth is being homeless. It's kind of complicated, but it's pretty much, it's not the same. But I'll tell you one truth. Being homeless is because of the economy, inflation.
I gotta pee, I'll be back.
So I choose to stay on the streets because it's easier. The money lasts us that way. It's embarrassing, but you have to live in society in a way that is given to you rather than going against it or breaking it. So I am looking for housing. I do not have a drug problem or alcohol problem. Rent is just high and it's strictly unaffordable for me. And that's probably the main reason why I'm homeless. I have spent 6 years in the military when I was young. I got a other than honorable discharge, so that kind of limits me from my benefits from the military. I've pretty much been in Los Angeles all my life. I recently went to Arizona for a while, and I come back. Arizona is very expensive and hot, but I'm comfortable here because I know the land, I know the area. So if you're gonna be homeless, basically homeless, where you know somebody or know places. So that's pretty much why I'm back in Los Angeles. I have a brother that doesn't care about me. My mother's dead, my father's dead, my aunties are dead. I have absolutely no one. And that's less worries, less stress. It hurts, only around holidays. But outside of that, it's not that bad. I am not competitive. Trust me, I'm humble. Nails like these will humble you. I am pretty humble. I appreciate you still talking to me. At least I know that the world cares or you care. And that's pretty much made my day. If you see somebody in my situation, don't frown upon them. The best thing you can do is look at them and learn from them. Don't be afraid to ask them something because they're actually helping you not to be in that situation. So you can always learn from somebody. Whether you agree with it or not, or look at it as a negative or a positive, you still can learn. And I want anybody to learn from me so they don't end up like me. And you've been awesome for giving me a sandwich this morning. Cool. Appreciate that. I haven't given up. This is not giving up. This is called doing what you got to do, given the circumstances. And it'll get better. I know it's going to get better.
And unfortunately, there is very little coverage on homeless people as human beings, like the one you just saw. And the coverage is more so like this, antagonistic. That's what you see in local news. That's what you see in national news. And that's what your experience is if you're like terrified of people living in tents, especially when you see someone like the only type of homeless person that you see is one that is like very clearly going through like a mental outbreak or a mental breakdown in public. So then your attitude is like, paired up with your capitalist understanding of like of poverty being bred out of some kind of moral failing, you think like, oh, these people fucked up and they deserve to be in this situation and they're crazy and they're scary and I don't want to be around them. So you never actually think about policies that would help them. You never actually think about how this could happen to you. You never actually think about how this could happen to you or a loved one. When in fact, this is incredibly commonplace, okay? And it's getting even more commonplace. It's becoming more and more common. Why? And we're going to talk about the grandma who was arrested for feeding people in need in a second. This was an insane story, okay? It's happening because how the housing market is insane. $40% of Americans don't have $400 additional dollars in emergency spending. 40% of Americans. That's one fucking trip to the hospital away from homelessness, and you're over here thinking like, you know, that you're fine, and all your friends and all your family members are fine. They're not. Let's finish this
Or
video.
this is freedom for you.
Yes, yeah, it's for more freedom.
You got plants.
Yeah.
You got tapestry.
Yeah, I feel like I have more of a way to express my, artist nature and everything.
But Q, I mean, you have to understand that a lot of people don't think this belongs here. I mean, this is a public street.
Yeah.
You know, there are better options for you.
Yeah, yeah. There's probably a better places, than this. But I mean, I don't think that I'm bothering anyone here. This business isn't even in.
Yeah, it's an empty building.
So is he taking the power from the city?
I try to keep
because he doesn't get a power bill.
Clean, and I sell bikes and I make motorbikes and electric scooters and stuff like that. I've fixed several people that live in the neighborhood. I fixed their scooters and stuff like that. So
are you happy?
Yeah, I feel good, man. I feel good. I feel like I'm kind of
like that lady is fucking insane. She's stealing power from the city. It's like, bro, this person has been fucked, okay? This person has been completely fucked by society. And even in that circumstance, you're like, well, what about the fairness? I have to pay for my bill. Like, how can you be such a bloodthirsty freak? I don't understand it. This is legitimately something that I do not understand. You look at a man who has tried to make the most of his circumstances and you feel anger. Not towards the system that has put him there, but you feel anger because he's been able to overcome at least some of the horrifying, destitute situation that he's been presented with. You feel angry. You're like, well, what about the injustice? What about me? Me. I have to pay for my electricity. Why is he not paying for his? That's fucking psychotic, dude. You are not a good person. You're a fucking bad person. I know he said he had a generator, but it doesn't matter. Even if he didn't have a fucking generator, even if he was stealing power from one of the businesses or stealing power from the city, who gives a fuck? He's literally, like, the alternative is this guy dies, okay?
being an example for people that's in my situation, letting them know that, just because you are living on the streets doesn't mean that you have to just let go, give everything up.
Where do you get food and use the bathroom and stuff?
Well, I go to local stores and while I'm out.
Let's walk this way. Yeah.
Hey, Phil.
While I'm out and out.
I'm listening.
While I'm out and about, I use the restroom at different stores and stuff like that. But
go ahead, Marla.
I'm just just curious he has the generator and the power cord that you showed. He doesn't get a bill, so is he just milking it from the city?
I sell bikes and.
Yeah, no, he's not. No, he's not connected to the city. No, this is a generator with. Can we peek inside or no?
Okay.
I'd rather not, man. Yeah, because I don't have it cleaned up, and then it's not finished.
So people around here seem to like you.
Yeah.
You're a super friendly guy. Yeah. But there's other people that are watching this saying this is ridiculous.
Right. Well, I mean, I don't know, where they're coming from, or why they believe what they believe, but there was a fire.
Even the guy who originally came in with the intention of cutting fucking anti-homeless propaganda is shut the fuck up, bitch. Okay? No, he's not stealing power from the city. Even he was shut up. Calm the fuck down, okay? You fucking bloodthirsty freak, you monster, you demon of a human. Holy fuck! By the way, remember, this is a telegenic person, okay? Marginalized people do not have to be telegenic. They do not have to make the best victim, the perfect victim for you to understand the plight that they're going through. This is a person who is good on camera and well kept despite the circumstances that he's been dealing with his entire fucking life, okay? And even in that situation, she's still like, no, how do we murder him? I thought you were being hyperbolic when you said someone will run on turning homeless people into biomatter. I actually think that's serious, seeing these people's reactions. Yes, of course, dude. Jesus.
Around the corner right here, one of the guys' tents caught on fire. And so, that probably puts a nasty stain on it.
All right. Well, thank you for talking with us and sharing some of your story. Go ahead, Marla.
Phil, my last question is, you said he was going to move soon. Yeah. So does he literally roll it somewhere else? Where is he moving to?
Yeah, you were talking about moving and just like rolling this down the sidewalk? Or?
Yeah, I've got some dollies I'm going to put underneath and move it from out in front of the fence. I got to have this thing moved by tomorrow, or the police said they're going to take me to jail. So I got to move. So that's why all my stuff's outside right now.
So if an agency came to you and said, Q, we got an apartment for you in Hollywood, indoors, services, job training, health benefits, would you take it?
Well, I want to start my own business, but as far as the apartment situation, I don't know where I'm going to be able to store all my stuff, and then I do a lot of grinding and welding and stuff like that, so, I mean, I don't know, maybe that's not the best
solution for you.
Yeah, because my generators and my, I kind of like that lifestyle anyway.
All right, Alex, Marla, slice of life.
Ugh, at the end, they have to make it seem like, first of all, they don't offer that, okay? But he's presenting an adequate problem. This is a person who has skill. This is a person who has power tools, who knows how to use those power tools. In an adequate society, they would not only offer him housing, but he would be able to use those tools in the way that he wants to and build his own fucking business and survive off of it.
Fair on the streets of Hollywood. We'll send it back to you.
He's resourceful.
That's fascinating, Phil. Yeah. Thank you.
How does this get fixed? Housing.
All right, San Diegans are frustrated and horrified at our growing homeless population, but it's not just us.
Yeah, people are finding themselves homeless across the entire state, and experts say it'll take years to get better. CBS 8.
Bro, look at that. Look at that. You think that shit's normal, dog? Wealthiest nation on the planet. California as a state is like the 4th largest economy. Is slated to become like the 4th largest economy on the planet, okay? We're about to pass Germany, motherfucker. This is craziness. Do you understand? This is craziness, bro. That shit's crazy. Capitalism. Motherfuckers will say liberal policies did this. I'm like, yeah, you're right. Liberal capitalist policies have done this. Okay? That's the point. That's the problem. Boyle Heights residents protest proposal to turn Sears building into homeless housing. Yeah, that shit sucks. I hate when people are like, we don't want this. It's disrespectful. They have no respect for us. Yeah, there you go. And the media will run with people that are fucking going off. The media will run with people going off on homeless people, like, because they're all local news is so right wing.
Use it as a bathroom. In the morning when the business owners come to open up, they have to try to deal with a homeless person literally blocking entrance to their business. And
bro, I mean, that's, you know, I can't believe you just filmed that and like put it on the fucking video there. Dude was taking a shit. Yeah, I know, man. Welcome to fucking living in a city, by the way, for the record. It is so dehumanizing to fucking film that, but also it's 100% a thing that happens. For all you suburb Andes out here who don't recognize that, like, no, that is definitely something that happens regularly, okay? You know why it happens? Because he doesn't have shelter. Where is he going to shit? How is he going to clean himself? He doesn't have shelter. That's it. What are you supposed to do? You can't use the bathrooms in stores. No public restrooms, okay? No social safety net. What do you do? And also, I mean, he is, you know, the final tier of homelessness. Like, it's obvious.
Then they have to deal with cleaning up hazardous waste right in front of their business, right in Sherman Oaks, right on Ventura Boulevard.
It's mostly the criminal aspect of the homeless and unhoused.
Theo Mavro is the owner of the Sherman, a restaurant bar. He says customers enjoying their meals are...
Oh, I've actually been there. I went on a date there one time many, many years ago. Holy shit. Didn't realize it was owned by that fucking guy.
...constantly harassed.
Literally come by and just grab something and carry on. That happens all the time.
And even more disturbing is the violence. Theo's host was recently involved in an incident.
So my manager had to step in the middle and get the person off of her, and he got hit, he got assaulted, and one of the guests got hit in the face. This happens.
While we were conducting interviews on Ventura Boulevard, we repeatedly offered to connect the unhoused with much-needed services. Do you need help?
Do you need help?
Eva, are you okay? Do you need any help? You're not interested in housing? No.
Oh, come on, dog. Are you fucking joking? Bro, what are you doing?
You're not interested in housing?
I mean, this is so aggro that it almost feels like it's like fake and made for like a comedy sketch to showcase how inhumane local news reporters are. You know what I mean? Except it's real and it's psychotic. Like YouTubers that do this shit, you'd be like, dog, that's way too far.
No. Okay, thank you, sir. Scrivano points to an obvious fact. Many unhoused people are in desperate need of mental health assistance. Scrivano says leaving them out on the streets like this is simply irresponsible, cruel, and dangerous for everyone. In your opinion, what's the solution?
The solution is that person who thinks he works for the FBI and who terrorizes my neighborhood is given the choice as to whether he wants housing or not.
That's not, wait, what is he, you think that person doesn't fucking, do you think that person wouldn't be in a situation where like, that person needs mental health treatment immediately, okay? What the fuck? These people act like homeless just love being homeless, have no desire to get home. Bro, that person has no autonomy, okay? His brain is fucking fried. If that was a relative of yours, you would help them out, okay? That's crazy. The solution is get him off the fucking street. That's crazy.
It's not a choice anymore. When people are suffering, you give them care. If they're really suffering, you pull them into care, or you lose them.
These frustrated
I mean, I guess he's not wrong. He's just using like lib terms, so I misunderstood what he was saying, but he's right. Like that person should not be on the fucking street. That person's brain has been fried. Are you against putting these people in mental health facilities without their consent? Bro, that person cannot consent. Okay? If what he is saying is true, and there are plenty of people like that in the streets, that person is incapable of offering like informed consent. What are you talking about? That person does not have autonomy. He thinks he's a fucking FBI agent. And no, I'm not talking about Herschel Walker running for the fucking Senate seat, okay?
Street's business owners say they've repeatedly called police and city officials. They say their pleas for help have fallen on deaf ears.
There is anger in the community. It is palpable, and we want it addressed proactively, and we're going to do everything in our power to make sure that that happens, including leaning on any elected official.
LA City Councilwoman Nithya Raman represents the 4th District, which includes Sherman Oaks. Business owners say they have repeatedly called, emailed, and tagged her on social media posts. Scrivano sends her office videos of the homeless making threats and going to the bathroom on Ventura Boulevard. Scrivano says he was told to stop sending such graphic material.
Nithya Raman does not care. She does not care.
The reality is that people who are experiencing homelessness are still individuals who are there on the streets because they don't have a home.
We caught up with Councilwoman Raman at a public event after fruitless attempts to set up an interview.
The business owners are tired of having someone block their business.
Yes.
How would you like it if somebody threw feces at you?
I mean, I obviously would not like it, and to anybody who's experiencing these issues, I have the deepest.
She's trying to do an ambush interview with Nithya Raman, and like her first point is like, what if someone threw caca at you? You're an unhinged psychopath, dude. You're literally an unhinged psychopath. You need to get help, okay? If that's your fucking take, you need to get fucking help, okay? How do we help these people is entirely different than like, how do we melt the homeless? Is Nithya mid though? No, she's actually done some pretty fucking decent work with tackling a gigantic issue as best as she can. From what I understand, obviously, like, it's nearly impossible to fucking make changes as a singular council member, even though you have a profound amount of power. She's done a bunch of not sweeps, but she has done a bunch of like long-term sustainable housing programs, like where it takes a very long time to actually come to fruition, because if you take an empathetic approach that centers homeless people and their plight, and you actually get social workers to go in and convince homeless people to leave their encampments, to go into first transitional housing and then sustainable housing, that is going to take a long time. Some people are not going to want to leave. There's already there's always going to be more issues that way. The other solution is to do sweeps immediately. Bring in the police, bring in sanitation, blow up the fucking encampments, clean them up, sweep it, force them elsewhere. Like, they have tents usually, so they're mobile, right? As mobile as you can get, I guess. Where they'll just like sweep one block and go, all right, fuck off, move on to the next city block until it becomes a problem again. Waiting on the crust punk weirdos to come in and take, like, well, if you end up homelessness, then you're ending homelessness culture, and that's tantamount to genocide. No, I don't think any crust punks have fucking chimed in on with a psychotic take like that. This is super serious. I don't even the trust fund crust punk anarchists are not chiming in with the I love being homeless actually takes at this moment.
Of sympathies and empathy. This issue is a humanitarian crisis, and it's a crisis for the entire city of Los Angeles.
Raman says the only way to solve this crisis is to fix the problem that leads to homelessness. And that, she says, is lack of housing.
No matter how many times you move them from one location, they are still people who don't have homes, and so they're simply going to move down the street.
He's right. She's literally talking about how sweeps don't work. Sweeps are not adequate long-term sustainable solutions to homelessness because you're just pushing the problem away, okay? You're not tackling the problem. You're avoiding it. just like many of you want to avoid the top of the hour ad break, because at the top of the hour, there's a 6-second ad break. And if you no longer want to see those ads, well, then all you need to do is subscribe, which you can do for $5 or you can do for free with the Twitch Prime. By connecting your Amazon Prime account to your Twitch account, you get 1 free Prime subscription a month. You can also get gifted a sub if you're lucky. Okay, not many are, but some are. Here's the 1 minute ad break now.
Compassion. Where is the compassion in leaving someone on the
Dusty
street
Wild,
when they
Brazil,
clearly
thank you.
cannot help themselves in any way?
And I don't believe that anyone who is suffering from mental illness should not be receiving the care that they deserve.
But with only one mental health outreach team in the San Fernando Valley, funded by the county.
Seems like that's an issue, right? Seems like that's a viable business. Here, capitalist brain, if you want to think about it. That seems like there's a lot of job opportunity there to find compassionate individuals who will provide compassionate care to those who desperately need it. Seems like there's an opportunity to grow a fucking viable industry if you want to think about it from a capitalist point of view.
Too many people are staying exactly where they are without any help.
The rights of the homeless cannot exceed the rights of the homeowners and the business owners.
The rights of the homeless cannot exceed the rights of the homeowners. Brother, on what planet are you living on? Are you living in fucking Mars, dude? What rights do homeless people have, dog? They have none. They have no rights. They're living in the fucking streets. Shut the fuck up.
There has to be a balance between those two rights, and right now, that balance is tipping mightily.
Yeah, these motherfuckers are living on garbage, okay? They're literally living on a sustainable diet of eating garbage all day. And there's homies out here like, yeah, man, it's really fucked up how the homeless people have had it far too good for too long. You know what I mean? We got to stop this from happening.
In favor of the homeless to the detriment of the people that live here and work here. We're not insensitive to these issues, but it's gotten to the point where it's beyond control and something has got to give.
Councilman Rahman says that she's only been in office for 1.5 years, and this problem has been around for many, many years. She says it cannot be solved with a magic wand. Alex?
Nobody talks about the plight of big homeless, dude. I mean, nobody talks about big homeless, dude. It's crazy.
Alex, Christine? Marla.
Gina, specifically, as we move forward from your reporting, did she say specifically what she's going to be doing to help those who are unhoused right there, and then also to help the business owners in the meantime?
Well, she says that her staff goes out on the streets and they go and talk to people. They try to get them into some sort of shelter. But she also puts the blame on the county. She says the county is responsible for providing mental health assistance to the homeless. And as I said in the story, there's only one group out there in the San Fernando Valley, and that's just not enough.
I mean, they see it. They see, like, okay, there's prevention. There's short-term homelessness is a crisis born out of capitalism. So obviously it's multifaceted and a very complex problem to deal with. And tackling it, in tackling a crisis such as this, there are so many different avenues that you need to hit it from, okay? You have the short-term immediate help, right? What she's describing is that there's only one group of individuals that are dealing with, crisis centers, one group of individuals that are dealing with it. They are underfunded, and they don't have enough people or enough funds to go out and, like, do outreach, okay? So that's number one. But then also the long-term sustainable solutions revolve around fixing the housing crisis so that there aren't more homeless people that are, becoming homeless, more people losing housing as a consequence of being priced out of the housing market. Okay? But of course, you can never solve this problem if you don't even think that these people are people to begin with. If you think that homeless people, if your attitude towards homeless people is like inherently violent because they think that they're fucking moral failures or animals or, something less than human, then you're not going to want to solve it. You just want it away. You want to push it away. That's your short-term solution, is just like, get them out, get them away. I don't care if they fucking die. And that's usually how people operate.
Gina, thank you. One more look at what is truly a crisis, and we hope that our viewers will go and search our documentary that...
Okay, Jesus Christ. Anyway, the project website says the center will include mental health services, education programs, job training, and job placement assistance. The fact is that 2,000 or 5,000 or 10,000 is just not acceptable in any place to give fair treatment to these people, said Reverend John Moretta of the Resurrection Catholic Church. These are people that need treatment. You just can't put them in an apartment and say that solves the problem. They need deep, deep help. No, you can. You should give them deep, deep help, but the help starts with an apartment. Opponents worry the plan would draw too many unhoused people into the neighborhood who would be ineligible for treatment in the facility and end up back on the street. We really want the public to understand that we know that we have a housing crisis. We do. We are not against the homeless. They also said their neighborhood has been neglected for too long and needs more economic opportunity and services. Yes, KTLA is owned by Nexstar. Yes, all local media is owned by right-wing, multi-billionaire corporations, corporations that are owned by right-wing multi-billionaires. Always. The proposal would have to be approved by city officials, among others. LA Councilman Kevin DeLeon, who represents Boyle Heights, told KTLA, until such time as a developer can prove to the community their concept meets the interests of Boyle Heights residents, I stand opposed. KTLA attempted to contact the developers, but so far not spoken to them. Here is another weird reality of living in the United States of America. There's a grandma in Arizona that was arrested for feeding people in need.
Well, I'm going to call my higher-ups and figure out how we're going to handle this, okay?
My name is Norma Thornton. I live in Bullhead City, Arizona.
Norma Thornton was donating her time and food to feed the hungry at a community park in Bullhead City, Arizona.
Full color front and back. Come see Aaron.
Hey, Ed. Okay, so I've made contact with the lady and a gentleman that was here. I went up and talked to her. I said, what are you doing? She goes, I'm just bringing the transients some food. They're hungry.
Transients.
Yeah, so I just got I'm not on speakerphone, right?
They're humans. Transient is like such a red flag for me. The moment that I hear someone say vagrant or transient, I'm like, okay, I'm talking to a fucking guy who's like a freak, okay? And I hear it so goddamn frequently. Los Angeles libs love using those terms, okay?
Yeah, you are. I'll take you off.
Against his better judgment, this officer was instructed to arrest Norma and take her to the station to be fingerprinted.
I think this is a PR nightmare, but okay. Here's the bad news. Uh-oh. You're under arrest.
I am?
Yes, for violating the city ordinance. Good news is, all I'm going to do, get your fingerprints, all that stuff, and I will bring you right back here.
The city of Bullhead has made it.
By the way, remember, this is why people say ACAB, okay? This is why, like, that guy might be a good person overall. It seems like he is like, okay, this is a bit fucked up that we're arresting an old lady, but he still ended up arresting that old lady because that's your job. When you're a cop, you're supposed to arrest old ladies when your fucking bosses tell you got to arrest this old lady for the crime of fucking feeding homeless people.
A crime to feed the needy.
Technically, I'm supposed to be handcuffing you and everything too, but I'm not going to do that because I don't think you're a hardened criminal. I don't think you're out to hurt me. I'm not out to hurt anybody.
The officer issued Norma a citation to appear in court.
Just so you know, you are under arrest. This is an arrest. You must go to court. Do not come back into the park and feed people. If you do, you will definitely spend the night in the jail in Kingman. I had a restaurant for a very long time and I worked restaurant work for quite a bit. A friend of mine had been volunteering making food for the homeless.
Bro, these motherfuckers would kill Jesus, okay? Like, I mean, this is so Christ-like, I'm losing it, you know? You know they're like, this is the Christian way. You don't understand. That's what you're supposed to do as a Christian, brother.
And asked me would I please be interested in serving food one day a week. And I found it very exciting and so volunteered, This gave me purpose and a good way to use my skill, and kind of spiraled to doing more and more. I started out a wonderful day. I had good food, made up for for the people down at the park. I just finished up serving approximately 26 or 27 people. And the very last person that come through, I literally was scraping the bottom of my pants, finished off the food, gave him, and as he was walking away, these two police officers drove up, Bullhead City Police. Finally, the day came.
Can I just, dude, dude, United States, okay? A country where this statement has really happened. Norma was required to go to court for the crime of feeding the hungry. That's crazy, man. That's crazy. Even when individuals take matters in their own hands to do the right thing, the system still's like, nah, fuck that. You can't do that, bitch. Get the fuck out of here. We're arresting you. We're throwing you in fucking jail. I'm losing my mind. And then people get mad at me for my statements about how America's a dog shit fucking piece of shit country. Oof. Jesus Christ. Crazy. Absolutely bananas.
Finally, the day came to come and talk to the prosecutor person. And then they would set a date for criminal court. So thought of people being hungry. I mean, I'm not making a big impact. It's not that much. But at least some people have enough food to survive. And I can't even imagine living in this country and being hungry. To be told that you cannot feed the hungry, regardless of what the circumstances are. It's sad, but it makes me really, really angry, to put it bluntly. After the court, this reporter sat down beside me because I was sitting right on the brink of tears, and he sat down, talked to me a little bit, and he said, may I take your picture? He asked me a few questions. The day after, the front page blasts across, grandmother arrested for feeding the homeless, or something like that. I'm never gonna stop feeding them, never.
Not feeding the needy in a private alley, but is
I
joining
am still
with
able
IJ
to
fight
serve
back.
people. It's not ideal. There's no tables, there's no grass. They get their food and they just sit up against a fence that gives us some shade. When I was serving in the park, word would get out that I was serving, and it was much easier for people to get to me and to the food. We always kept.
Isn't the whole argument that we shouldn't do personal charities of the government helping people? Dude. I still do charity, okay? I criticize those who think it's the end of the problem. It is unimaginable that someone would prosecute someone who is purely out of the kindness of their heart, taking matters in their own hands and trying to help those less fortunate than they are. Charity and the existence of charity, or the necessity for charity, indicates systemic failure. But that doesn't mean you should stop doing it, okay? This is something that a lot of people do not understand. yes, her actions will not solve homelessness in Arizona, clearly. No matter what happens. Okay? Even if every single individual in Arizona was like, let's do our best. Let's fucking do our best to feed homeless people. You're still not going to solve homelessness in Arizona. Because homelessness is not happening because people are not offering food to the needy. It's happening because people are getting priced out of the housing market. And even this grandma recognizes that reality.
The park clean so that the place is always left as clean or cleaner than we arrived. Nobody camped in the park, lived in the park. The city has made it very clear that I can have a party and host up to 100 people with no consequence at all, so long as I am not feeding the homeless.
Yeah, they've decided that the way to tackle homelessness in Arizona is by making it criminal to share food with them.
I am not enabling homelessness. I'm enabling these people to survive.
Yeah, they say that's their attitude. They say it's a public hazard because the more they eat, the more they poop. And also that you're enabling homelessness.
Political reporter Morgan Reiner breaks down the timeline of what's happening behind the scenes to try and fix us all.
The problem is like the idea that like homelessness will go away if you make it illegal is demonstrably a failure, because every single city that has experienced homelessness has created new provisions to make it harder to be homeless, right? Loitering laws and shit like that are created specifically to criminalize poverty and criminalize being homeless in public. However, homelessness is still growing. And the reason for why is not because our measures are not aggressive enough. The reason is something different. It must be something different. Well, we know what the reason is. It's because they don't have housing. It's because they're getting priced out of housing. The more you push the current homeless people aside and like push them further and further the outskirts of society, let's say, the more you think you're actually, solving the problem immediately for the real estate developers without harming anyone that truly matters, right? The real estate developers and the fucking wealthy voters and whatnot. Except, why is it still growing? Because there's new people becoming homeless. Why are they becoming homeless is not a question that people ever ask. People do not ever ask why homelessness is growing in this fucking country. Well, the ones that do ask that question oftentimes have shitty answers for it. What do they say? Well, they say it's because, mental health is becoming a bigger problem. Mental health's the reason. No, motherfucker, that's not the reason.
Right now, Morgan.
One homeless organization told me that's the million-dollar question. How long will it take to solve this issue? But the issue wasn't created overnight, and it's not going to be solved overnight. We are in this for the long haul. San Diego Mayor Todd Gloria said two things can be true at the same time.
We've increased shelter capacity in our city by 38%. We've done that largely by utilizing public facilities and properties.
The city is sheltering more homeless individuals, but more people are becoming homeless.
In the city of San Diego, our median rent is somewhere around $2,600 a month for an apartment. It's no surprise if you have rental rates of that nature that you're going to see more folks on the streets.
In part because of the high cost of living and mental health and drug addiction.
People continue to be extremely frustrated. They don't see the progress that they would expect to see with this all hands on deck effort.
From San Diego to Bakersfield.
We hear from businesses and residents who are experiencing the impact.
To Sacramento.
We saw about a 67% increase.
Statewide poll.
67% increase, bro. The more you support lazy people, the more they will take advantage of it. Why work when the government take care of you? Love that. Dude, you've solved it, my friend. You fucking solved it. That's right, dude. I've never heard that take before. Thanks so much. I know. That's the reason why I think, why is the government taking care of you by sending you to public school? You should actually learn by fucking continuing to hit your head into a wall and hoping that this information materializes in your brain. getting dumber and dumber and dumber. Okay? That's awesome, man. No, keep it up, brother. You're fucking killing it. You've solved it. Fucking cuck. That's why in places that have more, that's why in places where they have adequate shelter or adequate social safety nets, better social safety nets, people are literally just not working. I think of Finland and I'm always like, man, country famous for not working. Everyone is literally on the government dole, dude. Everyone's on the government dollar. It's crazy, dude. It's just 100% unemployment. Who knows how they survive? Nobody understands it. It's crazy. They've just built an entire economy while not working. Same with Germany. Same with all these other places like Austria, another famous place where people are just simply not working because they've gotten too lazy because the government's helping them out too much. How do they do it, I wonder? Dude, you are so cucked. Let me tell you something. You are not the Walton family. You are not the Koch family. You are not George Soros. You are not one of Sheldon Adelson's grandchildren. You are a worker. Your parents were a worker before you, and if you're lucky, you will continue to be a worker and not become homeless. Okay? Those guys get a fuckload of help from the government. They get subsidies. They're seen as productive people. They get tax breaks. They get more money back. They get help all the time. But you as a worker don't even want social safety nets for your other fellow workers because you think one day you'll be like him. But you are not him. You are not Himmy Neutron. Okay? You're not them. Shut the fuck up about government help and how it creates laziness. That is a lie that those who get the most government help, that get all the government help, have told you. So dumb motherfuckers like you who desperately need the government help, and in some instances this could just mean free healthcare, by the way, will repeat that lie over and over again because you got peasant brain. Okay? You're a goddamn peasant. You're living like a fucking medieval peasant right now, and you don't even recognize it.
Poll after poll says the same thing. People are frustrated.
There is no single bullet that's going to solve our problem overnight.
Lisa Bates runs Sacramento Steps Forward. They conduct the point-in-time count for the area. She says solutions are in the works. The governor signed several bills last month that will help streamline the process to build new affordable housing.
From a regulatory standpoint, they've done a lot. But, housing takes time to build, to develop, to site.
Her organization worked with the city and county to come up with a 3-year local plan.
We need to do a lot more on the front end. We need to catch people early and prevent homelessness from occurring.
To address mental health, the governor passed Care Court to compel those with severe mental illness into treatment and housing. But again, that won't be implemented statewide for another few years.
We'll start to see the kinds of reductions in on-street visible homelessness amongst the severely mentally ill that I think is the most concerning to Californians.
When Newsom was running for office back in 2017, he pledged to build 3.5 million homes by 2025 because that's what experts predict that we need in order to address the shortage. But we are nowhere near that. Newsom recently admitted that it was a stretch goal. So instead, he changed that goal to 2.5 million homes by 2030. Again, from the local level to the state level, there are dozens of projects in the works, but all of them are going to take time.
That's crazy, man. We just can't be building houses out here, bro. It's wild. I wonder why we can't be building houses out here. And then when we do end up building houses, it's all fucking luxury condominiums that just are never full. I don't know who's buying the luxury condos, by the way. I haven't seen it. Okay? I wish I knew. Those motherfuckers look so empty all the goddamn time, dude. Look at Culver City. Holy fuck, dude. It's crazy. It's crazy. You know who's buying them? They're building it for someone. They're buying them. You know who's buying them? Investors, okay? Andies, and also other investors. Anders. Oh my God. Capitalists be like,
Yeah, that'll show those poor. Why are you cheering, Fry? You're not rich. True, but someday I might be rich, and then people like me better watch their step.
yeah, that's what you sound like when you advocate for the needs of the wealthy, for the better interests of the wealthy. Okay, let's talk about, this is the last thing we're going to cover here on this issue, on this matter. But as far as Cenk goes, yes, he's in the wrong, okay? He's in the wrong. I understand why so many fucking liberals' brains have been broken by seeing crime and fucking homelessness and all this shit, right? Cenk hates Karen Bass, understandably. Karen Bass sucks, but she's still, unfortunately, better than motherfucking Rick Caruso, who is like almost single-handedly responsible. If there's like a singular individual that has like reinforced structural oppression, okay, that has been a cause, almost personally been a cause to creating more homeless people in Los Angeles and in California in general, it's motherfuckers like Rick Caruso, bro. Okay? So here is what could be done.
Livable apartments have become a luxury in many large cities. Vienna, however, has deliberately chosen a different path.
By the way, this is directly a consequence of communists and socialists. I don't know what they're going to say, but like, yeah, no, it is literally communists and socialists that created the structure that has made it so that 65% of people living in Vienna live in public housing. It's not even a joke. It is.
For 100 years, we have considered affordable housing a public responsibility that is best met by an effective public housing sector.
To understand Vienna's unique housing situation, you have to know its history. At the beginning of the 20th century, it had more than 2 million inhabitants, a larger population size than in the present day. At that time, about 300,000 people in the city had no access to decent living space. Vienna was reputed to be the European capital with the worst housing. As a result, the Social Democratic Viennese government made concerted efforts to improve living standards after World War I. The dogma was, apartments are not goods. Having one is a right. In 1923, the foundation for the first large residential construction program was laid. A new municipal city council decree foresaw the construction of 25,000 apartments within 5 years, and another 30,000 from 1929 to 1933. Public housing projects were never limited to certain districts. They were implemented across Vienna, regardless of the social status of the area. Owing to this clear, long-standing policy, the social background of a person cannot be determined by their postal address. The most essential principles of the Austrian First Republic are still valid today. These include affordable, high-quality buildings, social cohesion, and a balanced social mix. As a result, social housing.
City planning impacts people's lives. And if you have mixed income housing, like they're describing here, and everyone gets the same nice housing readily available to them, you will have better social cohesion. It is a fundamental part of city building, okay? Yes, it is quite literally Soviet style. That's just how it works. That is true. But that's how it works. When your neighbors are from all different backgrounds, you have more social cohesion. This is how equal opportunity works, by the way. America will never do this, though, because they look at this and say, that's socialism, that's terrible.
Has a long and successful tradition that has now lasted for more than 100 years. It is this continuity which is unique. Nowadays, Vienna, Austria's capital, is home to 1.9 million inhabitants. Along with New York and Geneva, it is home to the United Nations and other important global diplomatic organizations. It is the 5th largest capital in the European Union and the 2nd largest city in the German-speaking world. Today, more than half of all Viennese live in subsidized apartments. These housing complexes are spread across the city, ensuring a positive social mix in each district. Vienna is the fastest growing city in the German-speaking world. Although the growth of population slowed down in recent years, it is still expanding at around 10,000 people per year, and this high ratio is expected to continue over the next few years.
I'll be back.
The pressure on the municipality to provide the population with attractive and affordable apartments in a healthy, safe and livable environment is huge. Hence, local government invests up to 400 million euros annually in housing construction and renovation of older buildings. Another 100 million euros is reserved for local residents who are unable to afford even subsidized rents. The subsidies are financed through federal taxes and the general income tax system. This funding through taxation creates a reliable basis for the planning of complex housing programs, which would be impossible under strictly market-dependent housing policies. The quota is regulated by a federal law and amounts to 0.5% of the gross income of employees and employers. On the basis of this tax, Vienna receives an annual amount of about 250 million euros for housing construction purposes from the federal state. Besides money, there are other important factors that help tenants sleep well at night. City dwellers enjoy a very strong tenancy law in Austria. Another essential factor is the Limited Profit Housing Act. This act provides the legal framework for all limited profit construction associations, whether organized as a cooperative or as a corporation. It defines not only the principles of the public good status, but also other issues, such as the handling of rents or the membership of a supervisory association. Another key factor for affordable housing was the establishment of the Vienna Land Distribution and Urban Renewal Fund in 1984 to provide land for state-subsidized housing construction and to supervise the renovation of old houses. As a non-profit organization, Wohnfonds Wien, as it is called today, coordinates property developers, house owners, municipal departments and service centers of the municipality of Vienna. Because of its land reserves and long-term planning, Wohnfonds Wien is still able to buy agricultural or brownfield land at good rates despite the increasing price of land. Recent years have seen land and real estate prices in many European cities spiraling out of control. To counteract this development, the city of Vienna amended its building code in November 2018 by introducing the subsidized housing zoning category. If land is thus classified as belonging to a subsidized housing zone, 2/3 of the usable floor space created for housing purposes must be taken up by subsidized dwellings. This caps rents and safeguards that affordable homes will continue to be constructed across the entire city, and again, ensures a good social mix all over Vienna. All these measures provide for an adequate supply of good housing in Vienna, as well as the rest of Austria. Last but not...
Is there a catch, or am I too American to think this is something that can happen without weird consequences? The consequence that's weird is that everyone has some level of housing, okay? Like almost every single person has adequate housing at that point. That it is a weird consequence if you're used to, you know, living in fucking filth as the system just constantly fucks you over. That it is weird. It's unimaginable if you're American, especially.
Not least, these benefits contribute to Vienna being continually voted the city with the highest standard of living in the world.
How is rent subsidized? I don't know, dog. What do you think taxes do? Like, people always are like, how are we going to pay for it? It's like, bro, you already pay for shit. It's just the American government decides to use your payments for a never-ending war machine, okay? And subsidies for mega corporations. We privatize everything.
Vienna was ranked as the most livable city worldwide 10 times in a row. This includes Quality of Living ranking 2019 by Mercer, as well as being classified as the best place to live worldwide by the Global Livability Index 2019 through The Economist. In comparison with other big cities, Vienna has rather moderate rent prices. To maintain this, even in times when the housing market is under great pressure due to the financial markets and the ever-increasing population, the city administration invests, as mentioned, annually roughly 400 million euros in housing construction and renovation of older buildings. With this funding budget, around 7,000 good-quality, affordable apartments are built every year, and over 5,000 apartments refurbished on average. Nowadays, the benchmark rent for a well-equipped municipal apartment is €5.81 per square meter.
Looked up some of the private housing protected by Vienna's policies, and even there, like $410 a month, utilities included, and that's private. Yeah, because when your housing market prices are dictated by affordable public housing, private housing owners and people who want to rent, people who want to become landlords, are going to have a much harder fucking time because the government has set the pricing that way. That's why people always talk about how they don't want the government to interfere with business. Okay? Why do you think they're always like, yo, don't let the government interfere in business, brother? The free market needs to do shit. Competition needs to thrive. The real reason why they don't want the government to interfere is because the government is always going to outcompete. The government is always going to fucking put the price ceiling at such a low point that all these private businesses and their profit margins are going to get fucking eviscerated, and they can suck my cock, especially when we're talking about a commodity that is a necessity for survival.
Excluding taxes and operating costs, the benchmark rent for a subsidized apartment is nearly the same. When we study how people live, we can determine that Vienna is a city of tenants. Over 3/4 of Vienna's population rent accommodation, with only around 20% living in flats or houses that they own. There are mainly two forms of affordable housing in Vienna: the municipal housing apartments owned by the City of Vienna, and the non-profit residential construction buildings owned and operated by non- or limited-profit cooperatives or associations. Already, since the 1950s, parallel to the social housing construction of the Viennese municipality, non-profit housing construction has been making a considerable contribution to apartment production. Responsible for the building management of the Viennese municipal housing complexes is Wiener Wohnen, Vienna's municipal housing company. With 4,000 employees, Wiener Wohnen is Europe's largest manager of municipal properties. Altogether, Wiener Wohnen looks after 1,800 housing complexes containing 220,000 apartments, more than 5,000 business premises or doctors' practices, and nearly 50,000 garages and outdoor parking spots. And although the City of Vienna recently decided to build another 4,000 new municipal housing units, most efforts have been made since the early 2000s to promote the concept of subsidized housing. This program is supported by non- or limited profit construction associations, which are responsible for building, renovating, and administrating apartments for the benefit of the general public. These must be approved by the federal state government as charitable. Such building associations belong to a federation watchdog which regularly reviews their business activities. Non-profit building associations predominantly build dwellings that are subsidized according to the Housing Development Acts of the provinces. Therefore, for the rent or purchase of an apartment, the funding provisions must be complied with. To ensure that the quality of affordable housing in Vienna fulfills the highest quality standards, Vienna has a detailed planning process, including rigorous competitions for selecting developers and architects. This is called the 4 pillars process. Only those projects which provide the highest standards in the fields of economy, ecology, architecture, and social sustainability will be selected by an interdisciplinary panel of experts. For housing construction projects with a volume of at least 500 subsidized dwellings, developer competitions are mandatory. Smaller projects are evaluated by the Land Advisory
Chatter's about to become fluent in German. You might want to brush up so you can be a German streamer. Yeah, we're moving to Österreich.
Board, which is also a part of Wohnfonds.
It is kind of funny to consider that like a fucking European country, like in this current day and age, has policies that literally seem unimaginable for America. Like Americans look at this and go, that's utopian communism. You look to fucking I don't know, half of the European social democracies and their healthcare system, their public education system is so well funded and operates so well, and you think that is utopian communism. None of this is, by the way, but dude, you know what I mean? Like, we are living in such dire circumstances here in the wealthiest nation on earth that like other countries have been able to manage all this shit, and we look at that and go, nah, dude, that's crazy. That will not happen. You're fucking bullshit. That would never happen, dude.
Both systems use similar criteria to determine eligibility for housing. You have to have a minimum age of 18.
They literally kept this going because they were scared of the socialists in the 20th century after World War II. Yes, the USSR's, perhaps the USSR's single most important contribution to humanity, aside from eviscerating the Nazi scourge, of course, was that its existence galvanized trade unionists, socialists, communists in all of these other Western nations that created a system, a mechanism of fear that led capitalists to concede. The only reason why so many of these countries have healthcare, so many of these countries have like viable and robust union systems, the only reason why these countries have public transit and all of these amenities that are impossible, that are seemingly like just, you know, a fucking unicorn or a dream in America, is because capital owners and capitalists in general were terrified of a communist revolution or a communist takeover or a trade unionist takeover, and therefore conceded. The last time this happened in America is when we got the New Deal, okay, under FDR. Same forces, similar forces of pressure created a system and an environment where even a social democrat or a relatively open-minded leader who was terrified of those formations coming in and seizing power and seizing control, decided to basically concede and cave and give in to those desires, those pressures.
Maximum monthly income must not be more than €3,410 after tax with a single person, €5,080.71 for a two-person household, and €5,750 for a three-person household. These relatively high income limits, 75% of the Viennese population earn less, provide that the middle class also has access to Vienna's subsidized housing. Everybody who wants to rent public housing must have lived in Vienna for at least 2 years. You have to be an Austrian citizen, come from a member state of the European Union, or have an equivalent status. To get one of the municipal housing flats or a smart apartment or a subsidized apartment with a procuration fee under €10,000, you also have to fulfill socially oriented allocation criteria. The long-standing history of affordable housing in Vienna and the ongoing political will and practice that maintains it makes Vienna a great place to live. Constantly providing its residents with affordable homes needs constant commitment and a wealth of action. As in the past, this action will ensure future generations have access to high-quality, affordable apartments.
Oh fuck, I'm muted. I'm sorry. Okay. Yo, that shit goes hard on mute. You know what I'm saying? Dude, I was spitting too. I'll never spit again. I'll never say those incredible things I just said. You will never hear them again. That's it. That's the last time. It's the first and last time I'll spit so fucking hard, dude. I said some things that would have gotten me on Fox News again. Okay. Imagine actually investing the colonialism money into the poor. I mean, that's what Europe did. You know what I mean? A lot of Europe did. A lot of like European development hinges on quite literally that. You know what I mean? Except Britain. No, Britain did that too. What do you mean? They got the NHS and shit. Come on. Anyway, imagine being single making $3,400 a month with like $500 rent for housing. That will be privatized very soon. Don't say that. Don't say that. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're back to Pooty Poo. We're back to Pooty Poo. Vladimir Putin, not a good guy. Okay? Not a particularly good guy. Very bad guy. Recently said or made claims on top of the routine yearly ICBM testing military games that they played, which, of course, America was informed ahead of time. That was on schedule. Nothing too weird there, at least according to the U.S. State Department. But on top of that, he said something along the lines of Ukraine will perhaps use a dirty bomb. Would I call him a knucklehead? Oh, I don't know if I could go that far. That seems pretty rough, man. I mean, that's... I don't know. You know what? Why not? Yeah, he is. He is a big stinker. A knucklehead. That guy. Dude, it's over. I'm getting dosed with, like, radiated uranium.
Vladimir Putin, meantime, blaming the West for playing what he calls a dangerous, bloody and dirty game around the world. And... he says, for seeking global domination. The Russian president making these comments at an event going on as we speak in Moscow. He also said the West shouldn't tell Russia how to build its society, while adding that Russia does not consider itself an enemy of the West. And he had a prediction for Russia's future. Have a listen.
Of course, we have some problems, and first of all, our losses due to special military operation. But we have economic losses too. But we have massive gains. And what is happening, without any doubt, in the end of the day, and I want to emphasize, in the end of the day, will be for the good of Russia and its future.
To the situation on Ukraine's front lines, President Zelensky accusing Russian troops of, quote, craziness in the eastern Donetsk region. 3 civilians reportedly killed as Russian forces keep trying to take the city of Bakhmut. Now, that's been a months-long effort with only small gains. Mr. Zelensky mocked Russia for focusing so much firepower there with so little to show for it. Well, Ukraine's president also sounding very confident about the prospect of taking back the southern city of Hasan. He says his forces will besiege the Russians if they stay. One of his advisors earlier warning that the heaviest of battles against occupying Russian forces there is set to come. CNN's Fred Pleitkin reports from near the front lines close to that city.
Ukrainian forces trying to hit the Russians on all fronts. This mortar unit firing in the north of the country, while in the south, Kiev is continuing a counteroffensive trying to capture the Russian-occupied city of Kherson. We met up with an artillery unit on the battlefield. The soldiers tell us there's firing going on here pretty much every day, several times a day. The front line is not very far from where we are at all. It's a couple of kilometers in that direction. And right now, there's not very much movement on that front line, but still, the situation is very dangerous. Ukraine's defense minister says Kiev's counter...
Do you think we should cancel Putin? Oh, man, I don't know. That seems like a bridge too far, man. Not deplatforming, I mean... Yeah, you know what? Yeah, we should cancel Putin.
Complicated by wet weather in the area. But the commander says he believes in the end they will oust the Russians.
I know one thing for sure. We will never step back from here. We have no other choice. Only forward. Ukraine has to get back all its territory and borders.
While Russia continues to mobilize hundreds of thousands for the war here, the Ukrainians say they found the Wagner private military company, founded by Putin ally Yevgeny Prigozhin, is sending Russian prisoners with diseases to the front line. The chief of Ukraine's military intelligence told CNN's Nick Robertson.
They put on them certain wristbands in blue, white, or red color. Every color signifies tuberculosis, hepatitis, or HIV. It's happening on a mass scale. Most of them who were taken prisoners or their dead bodies, which were found in the battlefield, had those wristbands.
CNN can't independently verify the...
Yeah, I don't believe that. I mean, but Wagner is Nazi shit. They're like the Blackwater of Russia. But also, no, I don't. That sounds unhinged. It doesn't really matter. Also, what the fuck is CNN doing? Like, you just reported on that while simultaneously being like, we cannot independently verify that. Okay, well then why'd you put that in there?
Those claims, as Russian forces continue to lose ground in Ukraine, the Kremlin conducting massive annual nuclear drills involving submarine-launched ballistic missiles and others launched from Russia's fleet of strategic bombers. While the Russians notified the U.S. about the drills well in advance, Russian President Vladimir Putin with a clear warning to Washington.
What they are trying to achieve, we see on the example of Ukraine, which has become an instrument of American foreign policy. The country has practically lost sovereignty.
CNN said, trust me, bro. Source, we don't know. He didn't even say, trust me, bro. CNN just literally said, we don't know about that. But, you know, maybe they're doing it. Which is crazy.
Sovereignty and is directly controlled from the United States.
But the Ukrainians on the front line say they are fighting for their own freedom, not for anybody else. Fred Pleitkin, CNN, Mykolaiv, Ukraine.
But we begin with new allegations against...
For the record, I'm not disagreeing with like whether Wagner is like recruiting prisoners or not. I'm talking about the biological warfare component of it. You know, because I don't think that's how that works. Like, I don't think you can conduct biological warfare like that. There is also another component of Ukraine and the Russia situation that I wanted to cover that I haven't been able to cover for a while. which was the Congressional Progressive Caucus. Now, the CPC, led by Jayapal. Hold on, I'm gonna pull up a YouTube video of this as well. Decided to come out with a press release and decided to come out with a letter. Okay, the Congressional Progressive Caucus chair statement on Ukraine letter. Now, they went back on it very quickly because people were incredibly unhinged about it. I didn't actually see their hold on. I didn't even actually see their original take on the matter. But from what I understand, their original take on the matter was not like insane or anything like that. It was more so that we need to here it is. People are furious. Jayapal withdraws letter on Ukraine policy amid Democratic anger. Now, the reason why I feel comfortable covering this, other than the fact that because people are going to rip my asshole apart because they're just basically saying things that I've been saying for a while now, which is that like the aid is already conditional, and the conditions that the American aid hinges on is the continued effort of like fighting till every last Ukrainian. Some of the Ukrainians on the ground might want that, but ultimately that's not what's best for Ukraine in general. And the conditional aid should also come with the condition that like diplomatic ties should never be closed off, or some kind of treaty should never be fucking pushed aside, cast aside. I've not seen any American politicians come out and openly state this before. 30 members came out and said something. They wrote a fucking letter, and liberals became the most unhinged people on the fucking planet, immediately stating that these... Oh, fuck. Oh, no, I think Jack's here already. God damn it. You're right on fucking time. Fuck. Hold on. Let's watch this.
Stunning turn of events and a massive unforced error, really, right ahead of the midterm elections. Moments ago, liberal Democrats withdrew an open letter they sent to President Biden suggesting the U.S. tried to negotiate with Vladimir Putin to end his invasion in Ukraine. Now, that sparked fierce backlash within the party. Democratic Congressman Jake Auchincloss tweeting, quote, "This letter is an olive branch to a war criminal who's losing his war." The Congressional Progressive Caucus chairwoman Pramila Jayapal even defended the letter initially, but now she's saying it was sent by mistake. Let's get right to Manu Raju on Capitol Hill. Manu, what's going on here? What's the truth?
Yeah, a number of these members who actually signed this letter that was released this week were surprised. They said they were blindsided. I talked to some of them who...
So, where is it? Does anyone have the original letter? I need to know. I want to go through the original letter. So from what I understand, it was basically, just like, hey, we should always keep diplomatic avenues open, and that, obviously Russia is murderous, monstrous, but ultimately diplomatic avenues should be maintained with Russia. Here it is. Because ultimately all wars end in treaties, no matter what. Even if one side wins and the other side loses, ultimately who is losing is the working class of either side, and even other surrounding nations that rely on Ukraine for wheat, for example. House progressives float diplomatic path towards ending war in Ukraine, get annihilated, and quickly clarify. So the Progressive Caucus... and 30 members of the Congressional Progressive Caucus sent a letter to the White House that attempted to gingerly open a conversation about a potential diplomatic end to Russia's war on Ukraine. The door was slammed shut by the evening, met with enough fury to elicit a clarification in the form of a statement from the caucus chair, Pramila Jayapal. Okay? Let me be clear, Jayapal said in the statement issued before 7 p.m. We are united as Democrats in our unequivocal commitment to supporting Ukraine in their fight for their democracy and the freedom in the face of the illegal and outrageous Russian invasion, and nothing in the letter advocates for a change in that support. On Tuesday afternoon, Jayapal followed the clarification by fully withdrawing the letter, saying it was released by staff without vetting. So Jayapal threw her staff under the bus for a gentle suggestion of diplomacy to end a war, then pled guilty to the greatest crime of Washington today, giving the appearance of agreeing with the other party. Letter suggesting diplomacy was withdrawn. Unacceptable, unimaginable, shows everything that I've been talking about with respect to how fucking bloodthirsty liberals are, especially in this day and age. We have now become little fucking lobbyists and talking persons for the American war machine on each side. Okay? Mind-boggling that you can't even fucking come out and say understandable, reasonable things. The letter itself also featured, if I'm not mistaken, statements about, of course, giving Ukrainians full autonomy in the treaty process and allowing them to make these decisions on their own. It was simply more to say, we should also be on the side of ending this quickly. Okay? That Monday morning, Washington Post reported that CPC members were urging President Joe Biden to dramatically shift his stance on the Ukraine war and pursue direct negotiations with Russia, the first time prominent members of his own party have pushed him to change his approach to Ukraine. Such diplomacy could ultimately end with Russia gaining territory by force, even as it's faltering on the battlefield. That the letter was met with fierce opposition is a measure of the space available for debate among congressional Democrats when it comes to support for the war and how it might be stopped before it turns nuclear. That is roughly zero. I voted for every defense package to Ukraine and stand firmly for Ukraine's sovereignty, says Representative Rokana, a letter signer. That's what he told The Intercept. It should not be controversial to say we need to explore every diplomatic avenue to seek a just peace to end the war, including the engagement of our allies to help with that. It's literally what I've been saying for fucking months. And, of course, predictably, the exact same way that people fucking shit on me and shove those sentiments down my goddamn throat, they shoved it down the Congressional Progressive Caucus throat as well, okay? And it got so fucking insane. The war-hungry, bloodthirsty, NATO-adjacent liberals and so-called progressives have gotten so out of pocket that they even lost the Pod Save crew. The fucking Pod Johns were critical of the reaction to Jayapal and the Congressional Progressive Caucus's, tiny little letter. Okay? Here.
You make the right point that what Biden's saying is, I won't negotiate around the settlement that Ukraine has to accept without them. That doesn't mean we don't have things to talk to the Russians about. It just means Biden's not going to sit there and say, well, maybe you can keep this part of Ukraine and not that part of Ukraine. That's not going to happen. But to your point, if you don't create any space for kind of debate in the center here around this policy, you know where all the concerns about the war are going to go? They're going to go to where Kevin McCarthy took it, right?
Totally.
Which is that like, hey, I'm getting uncomfortable here. There's nuclear threats. Let's cut off the Ukrainians, right?
It's a lot of money.
So, to some of you, like some of the Ukraine stands on Twitter or whatever who like just, pile.
Don't worry about it. That's why I said, like, chill while I eat and I cover this, and then I can bring you in. Jack Wagner's here, everybody, and we're going to talk about his latest podcast. But before we do that, I'm going to finish this up.
On this stuff, you might be creating the outcome you don't want, because by punishing anybody who says, let's have diplomacy, the only alternative to your position, is where Kevin McCarthy's going, which is like, hey, let's cut these, where Tucker Carlson is, basically.
Or, where Elon Musk. I mean, there's clearly a void of people.
There's a void of
and like
discussion.
Elon Musk is filling it, or that guy David Sachs, some like idiot tech investor, right-wing goober is filling it. It's like, why don't we have the CPC, the progressive in the House fill it, or at least try.
Well, that would be a very healthy place to fill it.
They're absolutely correct. I've said this time and time again about Tucker Carlson's prominence when he was the only voice in mainstream media that has that openly was talking about like workers' rights, even though that was just a vehicle for him to shove in white nationalist rhetoric. If you allow the only fucking people to talk about workers and workers' rights to be white nationalists and white supremacists in media, and you don't have any earnest and honest voices that care about the rights of laborers, you are going to lose ground, and you are going to allow right-wing populism to basically become the only reasonable voice in the room at a time when, the contradictions under capitalism are becoming more apparent and frustrating people.
Yeah, this letter if you read it, it's literally just saying that we should be exploring diplomacy with Russia. There's nothing.
It's like a restatement of policy.
There's literally nothing objectionable in the letter whatsoever.
Yeah. Did Mr. Blowhard ask Ukrainians or Eastern Europeans what they want? Nope, it's never done. Paint them as stands. Meanwhile, the same rationale is never applied to issues in the general left completely ignore. Yeah. Great. Awesome. Yeah, you're right. We're not asking the Eastern. We're not asking the Eastern Europeans or the Ukrainians what they want. Bro, what are you talking about? We've given like fucking hundreds of billions of dollars of weapons. What the fuck do you mean? All wars now in a nuclearized nuclearized state, when we have mutually assured destruction, all wars either end with nuclear winter or some form of treaty, okay? That's it. There is already a point that we don't go past. Okay? And the point that we don't go past is invoking Article 5. The point that we don't go past is like actually putting boots on the ground and engaging people, engaging the Russian forces with our forces. Ukrainians want that, and we're not giving it to them. Why not? Because that is nuclear annihilation. So anyone that claims that they're like listening to the demands of the Ukrainians is fucking lying. That's not true. They're not. Anyway, it's insane to me that the Congressional Progressive Caucus came out with this letter and then immediately rescinded it. Especially considering that how milquetoast the letter was, especially considering that like the letter itself did not feature any sort of like unhinged idea. It was like pretty basic stuff. And even then they got bullied into fucking pulling back support. And the reason why I wanted to cover it is because it shows like how fucking crazy we have become, how bloodthirsty we are on the liberal side. Here, let me finish this out. And
Who said they did
shove
not
as much food in my mouth as possible.
that
But also at the top of the hour, there's a 6-second ad break. I'm going to fucking run that ad really quickly as well. If you no longer want to see those ads, all you need to do is subscribe, which you can do for $5 or for free with a Twitch Prime by connecting your Amazon Prime account to your Twitch account. You can also get gifted a sub if you're lucky. Here's the 1-minute ad break now. Let's continue with the
Jayapal's
letter.
office would release this letter this week. They, in fact, had signed this letter in June, pushing the Biden administration to pursue more diplomacy in the war, Russia's war with Ukraine. But some of them said that if they knew this was going to be released this week, they would never have released it they never would have signed on to it in the first place.
Wait,
One veteran Democratic member told me that Democrats were, quote, furious, including some members who were in difficult re-election races who did not want to open up a debate, an inter-party feud about how to deal with Ukraine when the party has united behind sending billions and billions of dollars to Ukraine at a time when Republicans are divided over this issue. So after backlash, Jayapal just announced moments ago that she would retract this letter that was sent to President Biden. She said in her statement, in part, that the idea that conflating the Democratic position with the Republican position, concerned about more aid, was, quote, nothing could be further from the truth about that. And she said every war ends with diplomacy, and this one will too after Ukrainian victory. The letter sent yesterday, although restating that basic principle, has been conflated with GOP opposition to support for the Ukrainians' just defense of their national sovereignty. As such, it is a distraction at this time, and we withdraw the letter. Now, it has not been yet fully explained why this was released this week. We had asked Jayapal's office about that. They declined to comment about the reason, but after that initial backlash from when it was released on yesterday, she released a statement clarifying the position, saying they support the administration's position, but ultimately untenable as Democrats tried to push back, made clear that they wouldn't have signed on to this letter, forcing an embarrassing about-face from the leader of the Progressive Caucus, someone who has an eye on potentially elevating in the Democratic leadership in the next Congress. But nevertheless, Democrats are hoping to put this feud behind them and move on to the midterm elections, where they're focusing on other issues as they struggle to keep control of the House.
Well, Manu Raju, thank you for that update. Let's discuss now.
Insanity, madness, that's where we're at here. CNN witnesses Russia return body of American fighting for Ukraine. Oh, this is the guy that people were saying looks like me, right? All right. Well, Jack is here. I'm just gonna have him on. Fuck it. We'll get back to our news coverage in a little bit.